Interview with DBKenney Sr., Westport, Nova Scotia, on November 11th, 2000. Interviewers are Cindy Graham and Chris Callahan.
Cindy's going to ask most of the questions, but if I think of something, I might throw it in too.
And we're going to just start with some basic questions to establish a couple of facts and names and dates and stuff like that. But then ideally you'll just start telling us some stories.
He's a good storyteller. Oh, good. That's what we want.
And one of the best ones is about her.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
Okay, this is rolling two. That's on? Okay. Okay, we're going to get started. What is your full name?
I'm Daniel DBKenney.
Daniel DBKenney.
Mm-hmm.
That's a surprise.
Why?
I thought it was Benjamin.
No, Benjamin was my father.
Yes?
My father's name was Daniel Benjamin, and I was named after Lauren Baker, who lived in Yarmouth, was a lawyer, and my middle name was Baker. My son Danny, his name is Baker, but his son is Benjamin, Daniel Benjamin. So it's gone on for 4 generations.
Yeah? I thought it was 4 exactly the same, but it's not quite the same.
No, it isn't.
So you're DBKenney.
I operated my business as DBKenney Jr.
Yeah?
And then when my father passed away in 1970, then I bought out his business along with my own, and I went under the name of Junior until Danny came along, and he renamed it DBKenney Fisheries. That's been 20 years ago. Danny took it, but before that it was DBKenney Jr. and I exported and everything under that name. Would you like me to tell you just how I got in the business?
Love to.
I got a call one evening from Chapman, Graham, and Ann. I don't know if you've heard of him, Glenn McLaughlin. Mm-hmm. McLaughlin Brothers used to be a big outfit in New Brunswick, telling me that this fish plant, who was owned by Joseph Seal at the time here, was being sold for taxes and wanted me to go bid it in. Well, I'm not much at bidding, so a friend of mine, Holland Titus at the time, he went up to Digby and bid it in for us. And we got it for $900. That's in 1953. And from then, it's been history. That's what got me in the fish business, because I was working with my father. I worked with him for, well, I was 23. I went with him when I was 23 years old. And I did mighty well. Then I got fired 3 times in one day. That's true. Oh, he was a hard master. 3 times, and he was only a little guy.
Yeah.
And my father only weighed 118 pounds. He was just a little fellow, but he was snappy. that was true, but he always took me back.
Your mother made him.
Yeah, if things didn't go his way, why, he was up in the air. But that's what I'm saying. He was just a small fellow, but he was just as full of fire as he could be. But he taught me a lot of things. And but anyway, I went with McLaughlin's, and at that time, it was after the war, and they formed a fish board in Halifax whereby people could not ship fish to the Caribbean. They had to go through a dealer. So Glenn wanted to know if I would export fish buy fish and export them for them, which was it was operated under McLaughlin Brothers at that time here. So I said, yeah, I'll do anything, try it. So we started an export business, and it went on for probably 8 or 10 years. And some of the big boys, like Halifax Fisheries, and there was a lot of them. Then the Cunninghams and down at Cape Island, had a meeting with my father right next door, tried to get me to this meeting, to win me over to join their outfit so that I couldn't ship fish unless I exported them through those people. Well, Glenn said, don't do it. He said, stick to your guns, don't do it, don't go near them. So I didn't go near them, and we kept on exporting until about 1955 was when Glenn got in trouble. This is true, this one. Glenn got into trouble with the income tax. And me being working for Glenn, my wife can tell you, and the girls can tell you, that we were raided by Mounties. They come and they went from the top to the bottom. We didn't know what was going on. And Glenn, I called Glenn and tried to ask him what was going on, and Glenn went over and said, well, he says, they're the same over here, so he says, we're in the same boat. They even went up in the attic, as far as they could get. And anyway, they seized all the papers we had and everything and that. So, but every year while I worked for Glenn, he had an auditor, and St. John did all of our work. Everything was done through them, so I had nothing to answer for. Anyway, I wasn't hired even on wages at that time. I was just working for them. Whatever they wanted to give me, that I got. Mm-hmm. And the results was that they worked 3 years with Neville. Yeah, they worked 3 years on that, and it cost me $800. That's how much they got for 3 years working. All those guys coming down, swarmed right on you. You remember that, Penny? Yeah. But that was a highlight of my business, I'll tell you. So after, I think it's 56, around 56, Glenn got into difficulties over there, so he sold me the business. That's how I got it. I got it from Glenn. And we took it, we run it from that. And the people that I started with when I went in business here were with me until I quit. Same people, dealt with the same one.
What was the year that you got it from Glenn?
I got it from Glenn in 56.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was we did very well. I bought it for $10,000. That's what I paid for it. I'd saved that much. They took all of our earnings. Remember, Viola? Took all of our earnings to buy it out. We bought it out. And that was the beginning of DBKenney Fisheries. And DBKenney Fisheries, we operated it until Danny, I gave it to him. I didn't sell it. I gave it to him. I said, I've had it long enough. You can have it. So I just dropped out, and I stayed with him. I stayed with him, and I worked with him. Well, and in fact, I'm still there.
Still are.
Still there, yeah.
I was going to say, when did you quit? Where did you go every day? You don't go down there.
Yeah, I go every day, every morning, 7 o'clock. But I've seen a lot of changes in the fishing industry, I'll tell you. When I was a kid, I can remember fishing off the rocks up here under what we call the high knoll, catching pollock and cod right off the rocks right up here. Now you never see a fish. Never. Well, you see this harbor pollock down here growing, but you don't see any large fish. Yeah.
So could we backtrack to establishing who your parents and maybe even grandparents
were? My father came here in the turn of the century. He came here soliciting lobsters, and we've often talked about this. It took him 2 days to get here from Digby. 1 day to Sandy Cove, next day get here. And he'd come down here. Oh yeah, there's some little story. He came here and soliciting lobsters, and he met, my mother was a Lent. She lived over across the road here. Anyway, he came down here soliciting lobsters, and he met her, and eventually they decided to get married. And the day of the wedding, my father used to like to drink a little bit. So he had a fish, I don't know just what size he had. Anyway, he had a bottle of whiskey, and he wanted to save it until after the wedding before he opened it. So we had down nearby, what do you call it, the ferry, there's a place, there's a building there, it's a motel now. And there was a chap there.
Doc and Doe's?
Yeah, Doc and Doe's. There was he was a tailor. No, it was a tailor.
Right?
What was his name, Viola? Utley. Mr. Utley. Dad went to him and asked Mr. Utley if he would keep that bottle until after the wedding was over. So he said, no problem, Mr. Kenney, so I'll look after it for you. So he give it to Mr. Utley, and after the ceremony was over, Dad went back to Mr. Utley. He says, I'd like to have my bottle now. He says, Mr. Kenney, he says, you should have bought 2 instead of 1.
Oh.
That's a true story. Yeah.
And he never forgave him, did he?
No, he sure didn't. I can't remember this Mr. Utley, but it's before my time, but I know that there was lots of times, there was.
But your generation came on the Mayflower, didn't they?
Well, I can't back that far. You know more about it than I do. But I know he came from Cape Island, and he came up here, and he married my mother, and he stayed here. After he came, he stayed here. That's what brought the Kennys into.
Irish descendants, so.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Came on the Mayflower.
But he
Did you, May?
was a businessman. Oh boy, he was rough.
Yeah.
Yep. No, lots of times he would. Of course, he'd say it to me. He wouldn't say it to the rest of them. I got it, and that wasn't so good either, because I wouldn't take it, and that's how I got fired. But we worked together for years, and Viola can tell you the outcome. At the time that I was doing these things, he told her, he said, he'll never amount to anything. He said, you forget him, he's history. But before he died, he came to Viola and told her that he was wrong. He was wrong. Yeah.
So his name was Daniel Benjamin Kenney.
Yes.
And what year was he born?
Well, Dad was 70 when he died. Or, no, he was 87 when he died, and he died in 1970.
Okay.
So you subtract that, would give you.
87. 1887.
Yeah.
87 or 82 when he died? 1883 if he was 87.
Yeah. Yeah. And he worked at different things before he came here. He worked, showing the picture out there, Penny.
Pardon?
Bring the picture off the wall and show him the picture of the boat. He used to work on the one that run to Boston and the Yarmouth. He was on the old. And he even got the key to his stateroom. There's a picture of the Calvin and Austin was the name of the boat.
Georgia.
He worked on that, yeah. Yeah. She bought that. Penny bought that from Uncle. He had a brother. He had several brothers, but he had a brother lived in Yarmouth, George Kenney, who owned the Grand Hotel for years.
Mm-hmm.
He owned it until he sold out to Rod's Grand Hotel, which was in PEI, I think. Anyway, he ran that, and Dad started bellhopping in the hotel, and he didn't like that, so he went. He got a job working on the Calvin Austin. That was in his early days before he came up this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that a freighter? Or?
No, she was a passenger boat, went to Boston, between Yarmouth and Boston. Yeah, Yarmouth. And they had 5 children. I had a brother, George, who lived in Digby. And I had 3 sisters who were still alive. They 2 of them in Halifax and one, she lives in Halifax in the summertime and Boston in Florida in the winter. They're all older. I was next to the youngest. George was the youngest.
George is no longer alive?
No, George died. George died, 10 years ago? Around that, about 10 years, I'd say. But he got away with murder. Anything he wanted to do, he could do it. I got the blame. Bye.
So you were next to the youngest?
Yes.
The 3 girls are older?
Yes, they're all alive. 3 of them. There's one. Annie is next to me. She'd be. I'll be 84 my birthday. She'll be 86, and Elizabeth is 88, and Alva's getting close to 90.
And George was the youngest.
He was the youngest, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So most of that family was basically from around Yarmouth, Cape Sable,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, my mother was from here, and he was from Cape Sable, or Cape Island, Clark's Harbor. And like I say, he stayed here, and he finished his life here. He worked the fish business. But what I did after I took over McLaughlin Brothers, my Dad was getting up in years, and he wasn't paying. It wasn't well. The fish business was getting sticky, so I run the both of them. I run his and mine too. Run them together. And he had the lobster business. I didn't have that. I just had the salt fish business at that time.
well, the name of his business was
DBKenney, DBKenney Limited. In fact, we still got the sign is out in the garage to the DBKenney Limited. All right, we just destroyed the property this year. Danny's built a new expensive outfit down here. He's got a lobster
Oh,
pound.
where the lobster car pounded?
Oh no, it's a new one, gee. It's all refrigerated and everything.
Wow.
It's this big, big outfit. So DBKenney, we had to tear we started to move the building. We were going to put another lot. We were going to save it, you know, because it had gone through. It went down from my grandfather. My grandfather Lent had it first, and he sold it to my father. And we were going to save the old main store part, just for, because in fact Penny was using it for whale watch office. And we went to move it and got one side up, and the other side, the sill would not come. It was rotted, so we had to destroy it.
Oh, you tried.
And we tore it down, and that was the end of it. But that was over the years, there's been a lot of history gone through that.
So that had some history even before your dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just imagine when I started in that lobsters sold by the piece 15 cents
15 cents a piece.
a piece.
Yep. No matter what the size?
You know, in those days they sold jinks and everything. They
Yeah.
saved everything. Well, then, as the years went on, they changed that law so that when they couldn't sell the jinks, they used to go to work and just keep the large ones and throw the small ones back. Yeah, I bought lobsters out on the shore for Dad for quite a few years. That's when they were fishing in rowboats, Freeport.
Yep.
All of them.
Yeah, dying.
I can remember Parker Thurber, Rennie Prime, all the boys. I knew them all. Yeah, I used to go out in the daytime, go out around Peters Island, go up the South Shore and spend the day up there and buy lobsters from those small boats. And that all changed. Well, it's been quite a few years now, but I remember Rennie Prime boy and them fellows were very hard guys. You know, they fished and they really fished.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raleigh Nichols was another one. He was there, and there was Titus. Shoot.
Not key.
Yeah, Keith fished. Keith fished. He never fished out of a rowboat. He might have fished a little while, not too long down this lower one, but there was a lot of them fished out of what they call the Israel Cove, the first one up on the south side there. That shoot. Oh, there was all. Pardon? The other Titus. It was. I'm trying to think. It's David's father. David Titus' father. What was his father's name? David Titus' father was a fisherman there, and up the island there, Crocker, Watson and Crocker, and Harry Crocker, and then you get up further, you get into the. Well, let me see. I was reciting it off the other day. We were talking about the cans, the can boys.
Yeah.
They were fishing, and Eldred Geyer and Horace
Bates'
Johnson.
father,
Pardon?
Raleigh Bates' father. He was telling Raleigh told us the other day.
Who?
Raleigh. What was his father's name?
Rolly Bates.
Raleigh Bates' father.
No.
Raleigh
I don't ring a bell, but I knew them all. And they come out in their boats every day, and after they got through the catch, you buy the catch and bring it in here. And we used to go to Tiverton and buy them up there. In fact, I even went up to Cumberland County, up to Advocate, and Horseshoe Cove and all those places, Apple River, and bought them up there in the summertime.
Really?
Did you drive
No, we boated them first.
Yep.
But then after the boat got age on her, we decided I used to take a truck and go up to Harborville and hire, what was the name, Viola? A fellow lived in Harborville. We used to hire him to go across, take us across the huh? Yeah, yeah. Arthur, no, not Arthur, no. No. They're the ones, they're the people that were an advocate that used to get the truck to take me over to Apple River. No, oh gosh. Anyway, we used to go up there, and then I'd go across, take the crates and go over, and we'd buy lobsters, bring them back, and truck them down here in the night, come down the night to have them here for in the morning.
You wouldn't take a vehicle over when you
No,
went to
no.
I think I heard a story of somebody who, there was some kind of a sling, you could sling your car aboard this ferry up there and go across it.
Oh, there was, that run out of Wolfville.
Wolfville?
Yeah.
Okay.
That went across the Wolf to Parsboro.
Okay.
Yeah, but this was really, those places, you know, were quaint at that time, because they, you know what they did with the lobsters? Mm-hmm. They used a place that they called the Lubber Hole, was a place, and they did dig a hole, big hole, and they put the crates of lobsters in that hole and then cover it with rockweed, so that the sun wouldn't get onto them, because the sun would kill them. And that's what they did over the Apple River.
How long could they keep them that way?
Well, they kept them from, we used to go once a week.
Really?
Yep, they kept them.
This was totally above the tide?
No, below the tide.
Below the tide.
Yeah, the flats drain off up there. You take up Apple River, they drain off for miles.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes way. You ever been there?
Nope.
Oh, I took Viola up. I took her up.
The other side of the Minas Basin, what we can see on this side.
Yeah,
Get the idea.
I took her up there just to show her where I used to. We went over the route that I used to go. You know,
Yeah.
we went there, and it was Apple River and Advocate and Horseshoe Cove, the three places we went.
Yeah.
And we'd lay the boat into Advocate, and we'd start to buy, and then we'd float them alongside of us till we come back. Then we'd buy lobsters on the way coming and going up on the shore, the north shore of, like in Annapolis County and up there. But Harborville was the place that we took them out and loaded them on the truck and brought them home. Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
That's pretty far away. That's not
I know.
exactly local. So
I know.
how did you ever make those contacts at first?
Dad did it. No, my brother, George, did it first. George used to go take the boat. He did it first, and he went up there, and then him and Dad had a falling out of some sort that he didn't do just what he wanted, so I fell into it. I had to do it, so I had one fellow with me, a Little River guy, Frost. Frost fellow from Little River was with me, and just two of us. And on the way back, we stopped into Digby. We buy at Victoria Beach and different places where we could bring them back here. But all the lobsters up there, I was going to tell you, all the lobsters up there were large. There wasn't what we call a jink. It wasn't a short lobster to be bought. I went off with, I'll think of his name anyway. I went off in to haul the traps off. We used to go off to Isle of Hunt.
Yeah.
You've heard talking about that island there?
Yeah.
We went off there, and he'd haul those traps. And the only way you could haul traps up there, he had a pegboard. All of his buoys were numbered, because if he didn't do it that way, you'd be hauling the same one twice. So every time he hauled a trap, had a number, he'd put the peg in the board. That's how he did it.
Why would you be hauling it twice? Because the tide was...
Well, you'd have terrible tides up there, you
Yeah.
know. They go like everything. And he'd go off there. We'd have to stay probably 5 or 6 hours before he'd get them. On the northern end of that island, it's a big bar runs right up parallel with the land. And that's where he used to fish on that northern part. Yep.
How many traps would he have set?
He'd have probably 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was a good head. He knew that anyway. We used to go over what they call the lubber holes. I was telling you, we used to go in there. If it was going to blow, we'd go in there and we'd put our lobsters over and float them until the next tide. Because once you get in there, you couldn't get out till the tide got back up. There was a bar made across, and they had to go in over it to get inside.
Is that there?
Oh, that's okay.
Your loving daughter.
Yeah, Penny.
So to go up there still, you went so far in with a vehicle?
The
Or-
truck, yeah. I took the truck, went up with the crates, and I'd meet him, and then we'd leave like either early in the morning or we'd leave in the afternoon. Sometimes we didn't go haul the traps with him, but if he was all alone. He never took a person with him.
And this is with no engine or with?
Oh yeah, it is.
Has
Oh
that
yeah,
different-
oh yeah. He had a nice boat.
Yeah.
It was a well kept boat. Yeah, and he had it. And well, what it was, he married Gervin's sister Viola.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
I forget her name.
It'll come to me. But anyway, it was really, something for me. And we arrived back, and then we got back on this side. We'd have to wait till the tide got up before we could get into Harborville to unload the lobsters on the truck. And whenever we unload them, I'd start out and come home with them.
Did they have did they have lobster seasons at all then?
There's summer,
Yep.
all summer seasons. That's all. No fall, just summer.
But down here already there was a fall season. So
Yes,
it kept you busy
Yeah.
longer.
Before my time, I can remember that they just had a spring season. They never had that December season until after. I can't remember just the year, but I know that they had just had a spring season.
Yeah.
And then they had that winter season come on, and that changed the whole complex of everything.
Yeah.
When
When
that-
that coincided with better boats.
Larger,
Yeah.
and they've kept getting larger. Yep.
Amazing. Okay, still gotta go back to establish a few things I'm still not clear on.
Yeah.
What was your mother's full name and her maiden name?
Mary. What was her middle name? Mary Elizabeth Lent.
Mary Elizabeth Lent.
Yes, she was her father operated cod extracting business here, cod oil.
Yes?
And he had a plant right down. He was just outside the ferry dock. He had a plant, and he used to buy cod liver oils from Freeport, bought them everywhere, and they had these big cookers, all steam heated cookers, and they used to boil them up and let them set and then dip the oil off the top. Cod oil. That was big business in that
I
time.
think there was one of them in Centerville too.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
Yeah.
Raymond, Keith Raymond.
Yeah. I bet you that had a nice smell going in.
Oh yeah, but that pummy, they called it pummy. They used to let that go down the beach, and the fish would swarm. What do you got there?
The family tree.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she got it. Yeah.
But there's, I mean, there's really, our young Dan is particular because your grandfather was Vincent Baker, but his great-grandfather was Daniel Vincent, so his father's name was Vincent Baker, and then when Father Penn came along, he was Daniel Baker. That's how the Baker and the Daniel came down the generation.
Yeah.
But Dan's son, Daniel would actually be the fifth Daniel Benjamin.
Yeah, but he signed his name Daniel III.
He's really the fifth.
Yeah, that's what he does. When he, I've seen it, Daniel III.
Right.
He signed his name, but going back through the generations, in all reality, he's really the fifth.
Yep.
The first Daniel would have been Dan's great-grandfather. Appreciate that background.
Uh-huh.
Because you're the one that's doing all the work. Everybody's gonna appreciate that.
Was that cod oil used totally for medicinal purposes?
Yes, that was shipped to the States.
Yes.
That went in barrels, 45-gallon drums. They loaded on boats here. The Firelight that was owned in Freeport by Frankie Davis. Frankie Davis Fishers was over there. Crocker Brothers there, and Connor Brothers. And they used to go to work and, as I say, buy all. See, at that time, the hake business was a big business. They caught a lot of hake. And they take the hake livers and the cod livers, and they all went in the same thing. Pollock livers, all the same. Didn't make any difference.
Was
But
it all called cod liver oil?
yep,
those? Yeah.
cod liver oil.
Yeah.
And they're shipped to Gloucester.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Firelight, and they had a lot of boats that used to carry it. In fact, my father had boats. He carried it too, but it was a hard cargo. It's in barrels, and they're very heavy.
So everything at that little plant went into barrels, no
Yep.
smaller?
No,
Nope.
no, everything barrels, and they shipped it to. I don't know where it went, but I can remember the time, and I know when they shipped it, they all went. That's where it all went down that way, and all went by weight.
Yep.
No gallons, just by weight. But they'd have to go to work and they had to go to work and dip that oil off the top. They use steam to do this. They had a boiler, and they used steam that, with the pressure underneath, would force the oil to the top. And then they dip it off, and they take the pummie. They call it pummie.
Started to say something about pummie.
Yeah, it's pummie. They take the pummie and they put it into bags. They had these big bags. I don't know what they were in it, and they had a press. And they put them in this, and they put the press down, and they force the oil out of the pummie.
So the pummie's the liver, really.
Yeah, it is.
That they're
Yeah,
extracting the oil
that's what's
from.
left. Anyway, that's how they got the oil. And one was the top was first grade, and the second one that they dipped off was second grade. It was all graded. But it was a big business. In fact, after my grandfather went out, my uncle Francis Lent, he went working. He run it for a number of years, and he wasn't making a success at it. So Gerald Bailey was a local person. He bought it. He hired them and took it over and run it until it was all through in the war. After the war, it petered out. It didn't last too long.
The demand died?
Pardon?
The demand for it died?
Yeah. But now it come back again.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Now it's back again because there isn't any.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was there a barrel maker here on these islands?
They put them in steel barrels.
Oh.
Steel. Everything was steel. They used to buy. In fact, I brought when I was running I had a boat and I was running to Gloucester or to Boston, towing boats down there. I used to bring barrels back for them. Bring them back. They used to get those linseed barrels. Something that they had to be careful what you put in them. Had linseed oil. Yeah. Yeah. But at that time, now what?
What was the what were some other byproducts of the fishing industry also? Was there something they
No,
used, the sounds?
They used to save hake sounds.
What were they for? Hearing about
Glue. That's glue.
The glue.
They dried them.
Yeah.
You had to dry them on the flakes.
Yeah.
You dried them on the flakes, and then they'd buy them by the pound, and they shipped those to the States somewhere. I don't know just where they went, but they were glue.
What part of the hake is the sound?
Hake is in the belly, right next to the backbone. You know, I don't know if you ever seen. Did you ever see hake after it dies?
No.
Well, hake would you throw a hake overboard and he'd float belly up. He'd be a big lump on his stomach.
Oh.
That was the sound. Would fill full of air.
Oh.
That's the sound.
Yeah.
They're deep water fish, hake.
Right.
They go. That's where they get them off in the deep water, and they used to save those. That sound when you just after you cut them open, you take the inside out. You take the livers out first, and then you take out the organs, one thing another, and that left the sound. That sound you just take hold of it and it would come right up, just as easy. And they used to save them and salt them, salt them and dry them
Right.
on a flake. Oh.
Eventually ended up to make.
I'm not sure, but I think it was in glue myself. Because it was a very gluey thing. I mean, it was awful sticky.
Yeah.
Well, now, another thing they've done late years, they made glue down to Port Saxon down here. They used to come buy all the fish skins. You notice when you skin a fish, how the oil is on the back of them?
Yeah.
They take the skins down there and they make the pages glue. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Out of fish skins. And I was down there, a friend of mine who used to go with me in the boat, he worked down there and he showed me all what they go through, the things to do. It takes a lot of skins to get very much, but they cook them and they extract that oil out of that skin to make glue.
Right.
But it takes a lot of stuff. It's quite an operation too. And then they made fish meal over to Freeport.
Yeah.
We saved all the offals for the Connors did that. We saved the backbone, the heads, everything. And they'd come collect it once a day. With what we called a gurry boat. They had a boat, a scow affair. And they'd come and we had a place built underneath the wharf so that we wouldn't have to have them out to one side. And they'd just come and lift the hatch affair on the end of it and take the hose and run them right into the boat. They paid you with a pound. You might get your taxes out of it out of a year. That's about all. Yeah, there was Been a lot of changes in the fishing industry in my time.
Are fish plants saving the livers now, the cod livers now?
They don't save
Don't
anything.
save anything, no?
No.
It just gets discarded or?
Yeah. Of course, today they're only salting. See, today, right in today's, the guys come. These mink farm can get all the waste. And Danny had a fish plant up in, or a fish meal plant up in Mink Cove. That's been idle for 2 years. He was hauling the offal up there, and they used it for fish meal. So then that went out. So the mink farmers stepped in, and what they have, they sell to them.
Okay. Mink farmers come and collect it?
They come collect it. Yeah. After the boats come in and they get them dressed, they save them in boxes, and they leave boxes here for them to put the stuff into.
Okay, I'm still establishing some facts here. We know who your mom is and who your dad is.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about your grandparents?
My grandfather Lent, I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Grandfather, he was Frank Lent, and my mother was Elvie, or grandmother was Elvie Lent. They had 3 children. Dora, who lived in Halifax, and Francis was home, and my mother. That was the 3 of them that they had. I guess they lost one at birth years before. But they were in the oil business. That's what I'm saying. They run that oil business until he died. In fact, he had an oil plant in Grand Manan too at that time. But after he died, it wasn't such a call for it. And then, if you don't look after business, you know what happens.
Okay. The year of your birth. You haven't established that.
Yeah, 1917. Yep.
And you were born right here in
Right next door. That's my parents' home right next door, or the Nancy's,
next door?
where the restaurant
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
Nancy's. That was my
That was your
parents.
home.
Yep.
You ever remember hearing any stories of your birth? Were you
Mm.
your mother attended by a doctor or?
Oh no, so we were born right in the house, right
Yeah.
there. Same as all of our kids were born on the island.
Yeah.
5 of them, they're all born, all here.
All my beautiful children.
Yeah.
Yeah. All born on the
Y'all
island.
have seen them all together before.
Beg your pardon?
You have seen them
Yes,
all
I
together.
have.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Fine family. Yeah.
What was the number? What was the number when we had our?
55.
How much? 55. And you know something? Would you believe it? That all started on a blind date.
Tell us about it.
Everybody was blind that night.
No, she came down here to work for my uncle, Fred Barkhouse. She came to work for him, to help them, and the rest is history.
Where did you come from?
Little River.
Yes?
Yeah, she's
I
off.
was a Denton.
She was a dentist in Little River. Yeah, and she came down here.
I just came down here to put in a few months because I was going nursing training. She changed my mind. Very persuasive.
What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember about. Well, I'm going to tell you about that. When we were married, my father had a car. He always had. He got his first car in 1930, a new car, 1936, and we were married in 39. And I was so provoked at him because I shouldn't tell you what he said, but anyway, I wouldn't ask him for the car when I was going up to her house, up to her place when we were going to be married. I rode a bicycle from here to Little River to her home.
Yeah.
And came and drove it.
And
For your wedding?
Yep.
Oh,
my sister lived in Digby, and she came down with her car and picked us up, and we were married in Digby. But anyway, I was so set in my ways I would not.
And he still.
It still is. But anyway, that's over 60 years ago.
Yeah.
61 years this year, and we are the oldest married couple on the island
Yeah?
at the time. Right now. Yeah.
So what were you provoked about that you got on your bicycle? Or were you just
Well, because
you wouldn't ask?
I wouldn't ask him. I wouldn't ask him for the.
Offer, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask him for the car. I said, took my chance. I said, I'll go. I had to go up Tiverton. And of course, they had the ferry boats in those days. You only had a boat, you know, and they had that scow. We've got pictures of that. Well, not that one, but the one here. But anyway, I went across the ferry. I paddled up to, and I had to wait. They was having a ball game somewheres, and the ball team was coming back, and I had to wait till the ferry come back before I could get across to drive up to her. See, in those days, they didn't have any schedule or anything.
No.
You just waited till the ferry came. And if it didn't come, you had to wait. So I had to go across the ferry and go up there to her home.
Was this the day of your wedding?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I had my thing packed on the back of my bicycle, and away I went.
Your suit, your
Yeah,
a change of clothes,
yeah,
and the ring.
yeah. Well, we had everything.
How old were you then?
How old was I? I was 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she just no, you would have been 21 in October. Yeah, we were married in September.
So who else was present at the wedding? You're present at the wedding. You're
Her mother, my sister,
Your brother-in-law
yeah, brother-in-law Fred.
and Fred's sister.
but you didn't elope. Your parents knew you were getting married that
We
day.
were married
Mm.
at that.
You want me to tell you what my father said?
Yes.
He told me, he says, you're going to pay damn dear for sleeping with a woman.
Now that wasn't very nice, but
That's what he said.
because
I mean, we're talking now. I'm telling you the truth, the things that have happened. Yeah. But I think he took back a lot of things that he said different times during the. Yeah.
And he was still alive up until 1970.
Yeah, he died in January 1970.
What about your mom? Did he outlive your mom?
Yes, my mother died in 76.
Yep.
Yes, we had her with us. We took her and went across to Winnipeg in the wintertime, her and I. Took my mother. She loved to travel. We went across, but she went to see after my sister, and she went to Boston. She married Turnbull from Digby, and they went to Boston. He went to work there. Well, then their daughter, Sheila, is the oldest daughter. She met a guy and they were married, and they moved to Florida. So that's how we got down there. They went to Florida. He was with. At that time, he was with Eastern Airlines, which is gone now. He worked for Eastern Airlines, and they went down there because he used to service planes. And that's how we got invited down to Sheila's, and we went down. We took my mother and Fred and Ann. We went down, spent 3-4 weeks there.
Yeah.
That's what got us down the first time. Then after that, well, we went on our own. First I took a trailer, and then eventually bought a place. We were there for 20 years.
Oh, yep. You're not still doing that?
No, they haven't, not since, well, the last year we were down, she had heart trouble, so she had a heart operation the next year, had a bypass. And would you believe it, by gosh, last year I had one. So we both had them.
Yeah. Both were great.
Yeah.
it took Dad a very long time to recover as much as normal.
Yeah.
Because he had 3 major operations. I only had a double bypass.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't want to do it again.
No.
Would you believe it? I never had a drink of liquor in my life.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't say that, can they?
No, you're right.
I wish I could.
No. And then I never smoked. I've tried with being with the boys or something, but I never took it up. Never smoked. But when I went down there, I told them, I said, the doctor was going to operate on me. I said, well, he asked me if I used liquor. I said, no, sir, I never had a drop of liquor in my life, and I never smoked. I thought it was going to be a simple operation. But Gail can tell you, they were there. it turned into, well, I was there 3 weeks,
My goodness.
just in Halifax.
Yeah.
There wasn't a day that two of the family wasn't there.
Good.
Yeah, I was last year I was in the hospital 7 weeks.
Oh. That's fine.
Never was in my life till then. Never was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Track record?
Yeah.
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 So how did you find that experience?
Well, I'll tell you, it's right to the point. I'll tell you that. Penny knows. Penny took me up, and the first time they took me to, they put me in a ward or in a, was it a ward that's in Penny? And intensive care. Holy mackerel! You forget everything you knew. I'll tell you.
Hmm.
But anyway, got through it, and they moved. They moved me around. I had to go to Kentville, and they took me to Halifax to have that dye test and all that stuff. I had to do everything first. But what I think saved my life, I was in Dr. Stern's office in Digby, and I had an attack. And I had to get the puffer out 2 or 3 times before I could get myself relieved at all. And he called Dr. Black. Pardon? Yeah. He called Dr. Black. He said, we got to do something with this man. We're not going to have him. So from then on, it was, quite quick. They got me down there and got me operated on. Because I was postponed 2 or 3 times, wasn't I, Viola? They told me it was going to be a certain date, and then they didn't do it. And this happened, and they had to do something.
How many years did you know you were living with some heart problem?
I didn't.
Brewing? You didn't at all?
2 years. I had it 2 years.
Yep.
Started out here. I was mowing the lawn. I started feeling this pressure, and in my arms, going up my arms. So,
Classic.
yep. And from then on, why, I went to Dr. Black. He was our doctor, but they want to take me to Halifax or to Yarmouth and have a. I was supposed to go just before they took me into for surgery. I was supposed to go to Yarmouth for a stomach scan. They said it acted the same way. I mean, so they were going to take me to Yarmouth, but I didn't get there. I went to Halifax.
Speaking of you taking your mother all that way, a woman who grew up on the island, that would be a big deal for her to go that many
Yeah.
miles away from here.
But you know something?
What?
When she got to Florida, she was staying at Sheila's. You remember this file? She was staying at Sheila's. And she called me. She said, would you please come get me? We had to go get her and bring her up where and we were living in a trailer. We had campground.
Yeah.
And we went, and I said, okay, I'll come tomorrow. So we went and got her. She wanted to be with us. Because I think there was so much time on her hands. She was there alone, and where they lived. Well, it was, I call it out in the boondocks myself, but it's out towards Monkey Jungle, way out the other end of the place. But anyway, she wasn't satisfied. She wanted to come home
Yeah.
with us. And we brought her up there, and she stayed with us.
When you were a little fella growing up, how often would you leave the island?
Not very often.
No.
No, we had the ferry boat. We had done her first. We had under Ralph Morrill was the ferryman when I was small. Joe Sullivan had it next. Not Joe, Arthur Sullivan. He had it, and Joe Sullivan, his brother, helped him. And then it changed hands. Went to Arthur Sullivan burned himself up. You remember that? You probably heard about it, but anyway.
No?
Oh yes, he had a lighting. Yeah, he was lighting the kitchen stove and used gasoline.
In his home.
Oh.
He burned himself to death. He died, and then Emerson Titus got it. He took it next.
It was all privately run?
All private.
Yeah.
Charlie Weber had it after with Emerson Titus, and then Emerson. Pardon? Yeah, he was in with Emerson Titus. They were all in together. But anyway, then after Dakin Arthur, he died. But then Lorne got into it. Lorne was with. Well, no, there was another Dakin in there. Herman Dakin. They were in on it. It's been changed hands quite a few times. Well, then after that, they got the old, what they called it, the Yellow Submarine up at Tiverton. They brought that scow up, and then they changed it over to repowered it. It made itself, run itself. Then they took and then they built the Josh Slocum. She came next, and then they went to Rick and no, the Joshua Slocum went to Tiverton first. Then they brought the spray down here and used it here. And so the spray, eventually they went out and they built the new one, which is no, not the spray. That's called the Yellow Submarine. That was the one that was the older one. But then the spray is the one that's down here now. The spray is here.
Was the Yellow Submarine privately run too? Or
No, that's when the government started it.
Yep.
They brought it up. I brought it here from Lunenburg. It was built in Lunenburg, and I towed it here with the Danny and Penny. I towed it here to Tiverton, and they towed it with a boat first. It was a steel scow. They'd always had wooden scows, and they had more trouble with them. That they run into the wharf for one thing and another, and they sprung leaks, and they had a lot of trouble. In fact, they wouldn't hold up too much, but they towed it as a scow first until the government decided they really got into it, and they put powered on each end and built a house on it. And in fact, they brought it down here. They did the work right here at the wharf. But it was starting to change then. Then the Slocum came after that, and we thought we had something because 24 hours around, because before you just go from daylight to dark. Nothing. The only time they go after you after dark is with the ferry boat when the By Blackford had it in Tiverton. And there's different ones had it up there. But there's been a lot of changes, I'll tell you. Yeah. Now you can go down any time of day or night. Normally you can go, which makes it nice. Because, years ago we had a doctor in Freeport, which we do not have now. Yeah. Dr. Weir was there for many years. In fact, he brought all of our children into the world. Yeah. And he moved away to Yarmouth, and then that left. They had different doctors after that. They never stayed very long. In fact, one of the last ones in Digby was, he's still there. Yeah, no. Oh. No, one before him.
Pardon? Oh, no, he's talking about the last.
No, the last one, a lot of it, yeah. But I'm saying there was one before. He's an Englishman. He's over right there in Digby. Purcell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was here.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on the album.
So what can you remember about how people were treated for any medical problems when you were a kid?
Gee,
there was
never
no
had.
penicillin then or anything like that. What?
You had a cold, you get over it.
Check on that. It must have seen me coming. I've got a few more minutes there on that side. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
No, there was nothing that I know. If you had a cold or anything, you got over it. We had a doctor come here. Dr. Churchill came here for years and years, a dentist down in the old patient place and did dental work. Come every spring. Pardon? No, Dr. Weir. Yeah, that was in between. But that's before. We were talking from the time I got married. But in 1937, I fell off of the. We used to have a farm up here, and we kept cattle. We had oxen, and I was hauling salt out of a salt boat similar to that. That's the last one ever came here. Lillian Kerr. Model of the last one. She was owned in Dublin Shore, was down in Lunenburg County, and they were all young fellows that operated it. They used to bring salt here. Anyway, I had taken the dump cart. I was on the wharf, and I had taken the dump cart and I tipped it up to scrape all the dirt out of it before I put salt in it. And see, they had a chain on what they call around the tongue that held it up, Mm-hmm. And I tipped it up, and I didn't fasten the chain. So when I got in, I crawled in over the front, went back to catch the tub. I kept right on going, and I had a fractured skull. I struck the rail of the vessel, struck the rail, and rolled off in the water. Captain Fred Barkhouse he was there. He had the ship, and he got down on one of the fenders and fished me out. I had a red shirt on. That's the only way they could see me. They got me, and Dr. Weir was the doctor, and they brought some doctor in from Digby at that time to assess me, and I pulled out of it, and
20
I
years
got,
old.
yeah,
No?
I was 17.
17, okay.
Yeah. And I got the scar right there.
Uh-huh. Those calls.
Yep.
There.
You get a bravery medal for saving dead.
Yeah, he got. Well, in fact, we have the medal.
We have the medal.
Yeah, we have the medal
Wow.
that he got for saving my life. Yeah, and I was out 7 weeks for that.
Mm.
Couldn't do anything.
Wow.
Couldn't even put a cap on it. I wore 6 and 7/8 before I got hurt, and after that it was over 7. I couldn't.
Had a big head.
Yeah, I had a big head. Yeah.
So maybe you can give us a little history lesson just by sort of going through the types of boats that have come through. We've sort of heard about the ferries, but your
Yeah.
dad, you were born before World War I was even over.
Mm.
So your dad must.
Well, they had the old Keith Can operate between Yarmouth and St. John.
Yep, that was a brother to the Robert Can.
Robert Can, Elizabeth Can.
Elizabeth Can?
There was Elizabeth Can.
Yeah.
And there was Latour. There was several of them. Anyway, it's owned by the Cans in Yarmouth owned it, and they operated it. They bring it here, come here on a Monday, go up to St. John, go from here, Freeport, Tiverton, up to St. John. And on Thursday, that's his winter schedule. On Thursday, she would come back. Thursday afternoon, she'd come back and go over to Yarmouth. So you could go to Yarmouth if you cared to, or you could go to St. John. And then in the summer schedule, she'd come up on a Monday and come back Tuesday night, and then come up on a Thursday and come back Friday night. That's what they had. Other than the ferry, we had that boat, and she brought all the produce for the island. Everything was bought in St. John at that time.
What would it cost if you wanted to take a little trip to St. John as a passenger?
Oh, you could go.
How
Oh,
much would that cost you?
Gee, I don't know, $6, $7, something like that. Very cheap. In the Yarmouth, I've gone to Yarmouth on her. It wasn't very much, I know that. They had berths on her, you could sleep, you know. She was quite a big boat to keep Can. She was the largest one they had. And then they had the Rio Tambo. They bought her.
What was it called?
Rio Tambo.
Yeah.
She was steel.
Yeah.
They bought her and they operated her, and when the other one was out of commission or something wrong. But the Elizabeth Can, some of those boats used to run down Clark's Harbor that way, you know, into the islands or anything, you know, but the Keith was the largest one they had.
We had heard that the Robert Can wasn't in the best of shape when it.
Oh no, well, see, her captain was from here, Emily Peters was from Westport here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emery Peters was from here, and he had his brother Jesse Peters was cook with him when he had her, and a lot of the guys were from Yarmouth. I used to know them all at that time. But of course, Emery was lost on the Robert when she went down off of between Graham and Ann and Centerville, the Robert Can, and what was his name? He was on her at that time. He's the only one who was saved. I mean, Els, Captain Art Els. Yeah, he was saved. He was on her at that time. And one other person, there's only two that was saved out of that whole crew. Yeah.
What was the reaction of people when they heard about that?
We heard it on Sunday morning. And would you believe it? We had a Chesterfield on that.
You did.
We had a
Supposed to be
Chesterfield.
coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had a fight I got it from Eaton's.
Yes.
And I had a fight with them for the,
To go good for it.
yep, they wanted their money.
Yeah.
Remember that, Viola? We had a Chesterfield and chairs on that. But we couldn't convince them. See, they'd have to take it. We didn't get delivery of it. It was on the old Keith Can.
In those days.
Having a card party that evening, and I can remember going so very well, because my first reaction was, my new furniture's in the bottom of the ice.
Where were you at the card party? Where was that?
At my own home,
Yep.
and that used to be over at Briar House here.
Yeah.
It used to be
Penny was 4 years old, and when they brought her over here, and the washing machine fell off the back of the truck. I remember that. And Penny wanted to go home. Wanted to go back home.
And we all did.
Well, cards must have been a popular pastime because
Yeah.
the second person we have heard who actually was at a card party that the
Rook.
night that the Robert Can went down.
Rook.
Yeah,
Played
Rook.
Rook. That's
Yeah.
what we played, yeah. Yeah. And we'd get together, couples. There were a lot of young couples here then, and they'd get together on a Saturday night. That happened on a Saturday night.
So you've heard that story before, they were at a card party on the Robert Can.
Yeah, yeah. We heard of a card party happening in Waterford
Yeah.
same night.
Yeah.
But it
It's
stopped.
over,
Okay.
yeah. You comfy? You need a little break at all, or?
Oh, don't bother me.
No, good. Okay. That's a good story.
So in those days, they didn't have insurance for that whole loss of life and the cargo and everything like that. It was just a tragedy and.
Yeah. Oh, they forget about that. When I insured the Robert, I had the Robert S. My brother bought it, and he ran it for a while, and he got tired of it, and wanted me to take over the payments, so I took it over. And what I was going to tell you, I insured it for $10,000. It cost me $100. That was a
What was this?
government Robert S. government insurance. They sold government insurance, 1%, $100. I insured for $10,000. Yeah.
So there were those were, what did they call those kind of boats, the can boats? Those were called
Freighters.
Freighters.
Yeah, they were freighters, but they had accommodations for people. Well, in fact, when they brought cars here on the island, they used to bring one, the Keith Can from Yarmouth. She brought cars here, yeah. They used to bring cattle, horses, everything. They brought everything in those days. Oh yeah, they did. Had a swing, they'd hoist them up and land them on the dock. Yeah. Everybody used to go down when the boat come in and go see who was on the boat.
I was just thinking how much fun that would have been,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When she got in here in the morning, she'd get in 10:30 every time she come in from Yarmouth. It'd be 10:30 in the morning. She'd leave there 7 o'clock, and you could hear the old whistle, hear her blowing, this thick fog. She's blowing every. So I'm just imagine they sailed that boat up here, all kinds of weather, and no radar, no nothing. Almost impossible to believe it. They did it, and the only one that I ever see run ashore was the Robert Can run ashore in Northern Point, the thick fog one night, and it wasn't the Keith Can. It was no, they had another one after that. What's the name of the black one they had? The last one that they had that they.
What was the one that we used to call the Tiggity?
That was it, Daggedy.
Oh, that was at Freeport. That was Connor. That was Davis, Frankie Davis, Taggedy. Yeah, she was Frankie Davis. Had that for a run to Gloucester, but no, the Airedales run that last one, Viola. The standard coaster. No. I'll think of it. Anyways, they run around Peters Island right head on in the morning with thick fog. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of boats ashore here
I'm sure.
over the years.
And the Robert Can went aground once, not the time that it sank, another time?
No, another time on Northern Point.
Yeah.
There, because we went up and see her up there. She was there, wallowing back and forth. But during the war, there's a lot of ships ashore here. There was one down at Pond Cove. They'd have a picture show one night, and somebody came in, there's a ship ashore. They called from the lighthouse, said there was one there, right up in Pond Cove. There's one on Hog Yard down here on the other side of the island. A lot of those boats were ashore. Big ships they were.
Yeah.
They
Go
did
on.
military vessels? you know?
Pardon?
Military vessels during the
No, they were going for radar. See, they were going for St. John.
Right.
That one wasn't, but they all missed it when they made into the bay.
We probably saw this.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
In that, in,
Great. I have to have it on my wall. I need a new
Oh,
one.
do you?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great.
You gave us that.
Did
one
you
last
remember?
year. Well, no, you wouldn't have been there when the Aurora was.
No, the roars for my time.
Yeah.
Do you remember that Greek ship that blew up in the 40s?
What
Foreign vessel.
the one that lost all the lives?
Mm-hmm.
That's one that they brought the military people here that had died on her. There was a lot of them. They had them in they had a place down here. They used to keep caskets and one thing another. They took them in there. They're American soldiers.
Oh.
Yeah, they must have had. In fact, they buried them up in the cemetery until after the war was over, and then the Americans come and got them. After the war was over, they came and got them and took them back. There was. I was trying to think of the name of her. I know the name of her.
I just saw it written not too long ago. What was the name of that?
The one that Derek is researching, Derek Thurber, Raymond's son, is researching something called Ekaterini or
No,
not that one.
no.
Look at it there, Steve? No?
Yeah, are they listed? Are they there?
Should be.
Well, these are all sailing vessels. They're not the freighters. They're not the. Well, they're all sailing vessels. I can remember the Westaway went ashore at Pond Cove. It's on a Sunday. No, they're not the ones, Penny. No. Hilbert Guerin had the name of her in front of his house for years. Nameplate that come off her, all gold color.
So there were those boats called freighters. Then this boat that your father was on out of Yarmouth, went between Yarmouth
Yeah.
and Gloucester, was
Passenger boat and freight too.
what fueled that boat? Not
That was,
the sailing
no,
boat.
she was steam.
It was steam.
See the black smoke?
Yep.
That's steam. Yeah. Yeah, she carried passengers between Boston and Yarmouth. And then the Eastern steamship came in after that. Evangeline, the Yarmouth, and the Acadia. They were there during the war until part of the war they took the larger ones. They took her down. In fact, someone told me that they lost the Yarmouth down south somewhere during the war. They lost her. But the Evangeline and the Acadia used to run to Yarmouth to Boston and from St. John to Boston. That's before that was in the railway days. And she, in fact, they brought her up through here,
Yeah.
up through the passage. They took her up through. Yeah. And just trying to think. I didn't know what you people were going to talk about because I had some of this stuff down.
We kind of don't know until we get to the place either what we're going to talk about.
Anything and everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story
Okay.
about this one here.
Okay.
Gail.
I was going to definitely make sure we.
Yeah, Gail was to graduate in the summer. What year was it, Gail? Well, when you graduated, and I. Anyway,
Okay, it had to be
in the 50s.
Yeah.
In the 50s, because I was towing boats to Boston. I used to do it for business.
Yep.
And we started in 55 and run for about 10 years. Anyway, we towed the boats to Boston. And I had a fellow with me. I had a French fellow named Louis German. You probably don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he was around here for years. He worked with me. He was with me quite a while, all the while I had the boats. Anyway, Louis, and then I had a chap from down at Bear Point, Cecil Holliday was the engineer with me. And we used to take strings of boat and tow them to Boston. And we live here with them, and we go down there and deliver them to people along the way. We stopped in Rockland and Portland, different places, and then get clear of the boats. So we go down there. I was to get her a graduation dress. This one. This is Gail. And so we were coming back from Boston, and we left Boston, or Gloucester. We left in the afternoon. We were going to sail overnight, and I was going into Rockland to pick her up a graduation dress. So we got up to Rockland, and then Louis went with me, and Cecil went with me. Now we've been in that boat over a week. We've been aboard that boat. Yeah, we went up there and just to show you what we did, we went to the most expensive place was Senator Crane's. I remember the name. They had a great big
The dress
store.
shop?
Pardon?
That was the dress shop?
Yep.
That's
Oh,
the
it was, all had everything.
store?
Had departments. They had 4 floors. So I asked somebody where I'd find graduation dress, and would you believe it? We had to go to the very top. Up we go. Cecil, they followed me. They're all right with me. And we went into there, and they had them in a glass cage. I remember that cage. It was all glassed in. And I was looking at them, and there was three ladies standing over there that was waiting on it. Were supposed to be waiting on us. And whether they got a whiff or a look at us, and we didn't look too prosperous or what. But anyway, none of them. They all hesitated to come wait on us. So anyway, after a while, I thought over. I got nerve enough to ask them if I could see a certain dress. In the meantime, when we were in Boston, they used to pay us for the boats, pay us for some boats, and pay us for towing them down. We got $200 a boat for towing them down, and we'd had our money with us. So this little, I remember she's a little short lady. She came over. I asked her if I could see a certain dress. She wasn't very obliging. She said she would show it to me. So it was pink, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. It was a pink dress, and I said, I think it's size 12, wasn't it? Yeah. I said, that's the one I want. I asked her how much it was, and she told me. And I reached in my pocket, and I'd had a whole lot of money in my pocket. I hauled these roll of bills out of my pocket to pay her for it. It's all different atmosphere. Everything was lovely. Yep, have anything you wanted. But doesn't that show you?
Yes, it sure does.
It shows you what happens. But just the minute I hold that roll of money out, it was a different story.
Yes, Mr. Kenney.
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes. So that was my trip as Senator Cranes.
Tell a star story, Louis. Tell a star story, please.
The what?
Star story.
Oh, yeah, that's Louis. Louis was a French fellow. He couldn't read nor write.
Right.
And this is true. These stories are true. Couldn't read nor write, and we had left Gloucester. It's the Danny and Penny, which is the white model up there. And, we had left Gloucester and on our way home. And of course, it was coming night. In the meantime, well, as we got going, we burnt a compass light out. Compass, you had a binnacle light to see with. So Cecil said, "Oh," he says, "I'll fix that." He went down, got a roll of tape, and he took a little bulb he put in, wrapped it with tape, put it there so the end was sticking out, showed on the compass. And we could see it, or we could see where the steering. So I told Louis, "Louis, your first turn at the wheel. We take 2 hours apiece. 2 hours gives us a chance to lay down for a while." In the meantime, the old compass light got hot. The old tape started. The old-fashioned tape, you remember now, used to burn. Used to smell like terrible. And the Louis says, "I can't stand this smell. It's terrible." So.
Dead horses or something.
Well, I said, I don't know what we were going to do. I knew we could do it. Anyway, I went out and I lined up a star. Just about. And I looked on the compass to see how, so we go parallel with the land, we're going up the coast. I lined up a star, and I said, "Louis, you steer for that star." And Louis says, "All right." So I didn't pay any attention, and so it was my turn to lay down. So I laid down, and I wasn't there, I bet you, half an hour. Tapped me on the shoulders. He says, "Daniel," he says, "you got to get up." I said, "What's the trouble, Louis?" He says, "The star's gone." That was true. Louis and the star. Star's gone. Yeah.
What kind of boats were these you were towing down?
All kinds.
Yeah.
Pleasure boats, everything. We towed them down to Salem, Massachusetts.
Boats that were newly built?
Yep.
Brand new boats that people
Some are new, some are secondhand. People come up here and buy them. See, they get more for the money up here, and they bought them. And then I did that for years. Towed them down, towed high as a dozen at a time.
My goodness.
Yep.
Oh, a dozen at a time?
Dozen, strung right out in a string.
So you owned, at that time, you owned one boat yourself?
Yeah,
That's right here. Yeah.
there's a model of her.
We got a picture of that too.
What's the name of that boat?
That was the Danny and Penny, named after Danny and Penny.
How did you choose those two children to name your boat?
Well, that was the first one.
Yeah.
They were the youngest.
Okay. They were
But I,
Father said, if you have a lot of N's in the name of a boat, it's very lucky.
Oh.
So
I've
we
heard
had
that
the
before.
Kenny name,
Yes.
and then Penny and Danny.
Yes.
So we had lots of people.
Okay.
and I named them
Carl,
Gail and Nancy. I named one after Gail and Nancy. We had her. And we had different names. We had different, over the years I had a few boats, and we used to change the name, Nan and Gail. and it was really, really interesting. It was a great thing to do. I mean, I've made a lot of friends down there, and I'm going to tell you a little story about one chap, that Teddy Helinski. He was a Polish chap that lived in Salem, Mass. In fact, we were to see him 2 years ago. The wife and I went to see him for the last time, and some deal. I don't know, just remember what the deal was, but anyway, there was a check. He sent me a check for, I think it was for $600 or $700, and he felt that he owed it to me. And Teddy, you don't owe that to me. So what we did, we turned right around, mailed it back to him, mailed the check back, and when we were down, when his wife called us to tell him that he had passed on just this summer, he died this summer, she said Teddy had said the only true friend he ever had in his life. See, I could have taken advantage of that money, but I didn't. I wouldn't take it. And the results was that we used to go see him every year. In fact, we used to send him a halibut every summer. We sent him down a halibut. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Teddy Helinski.
So we took many pleasure cruises to Bahamas, and
Oh yeah, we used to take trips together. After he retired, he was a mechanic and a good one. Good, beautiful mechanic, could do anything. But anyway, Teddy, after retired, his wife and Evelyn would come down to Florida. They'd rent a place right close to us or something, and we'd go on a trip, go to the Caribbean, take a week. You know, they take you they come pick us up at the bus, took us to the ship, brought us back home. It was really nice. We were at a lot of places.
Yeah. When you got in the fish business and you were shipping saltfish to the Caribbean, did you go down yourself?
No, I didn't. I went there afterwards. We were to San Domingo. We were to Venezuela. We were to San Domingo. We were there, but the people that I had been doing business with were gone then. We were, yeah, it was a big business then. Pardon? Sanchez, yeah. Rafael Sanchez. Yeah.
And I had enough when the kids were married that I had either their white suitcase or their dark suitcase.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pardon?
Oh, yes, he came here.
Yeah, he was here, stayed with us. But it was a really good experience. I mean, about the one we went to South America. Where was it? What was the name of the place we went in? No, not Aruba. No, we were to Aruba. But when we went in that place where we went to the dungeons, what was that?
Venezuela?
It was in Venezuela, but what was the name of the place? You know that she knows the name of it. Cartagena. We went to Cartagena, and this is kind of cute. I sort of got a kick out of it. Anyway, we went to Cartagena, and we didn't go off the ship right first. A lot of people were just flocking to get off the ship, to go, because you could buy things cheap down there in South America. So we didn't go quite as fast as they did. We waited. We were pretty much the last ones off. Anyway, we walked along. We didn't. People were they're trying to get you to take their buses or their taxis, whatever. But we went to the end of the line was the Viola, and this little guy was there, and we asked him about taking us. There were 6 of us: Teddy and Evelyn and Viola and I, and up to Digby. Dorothy and Lloyd Grant from up to Barton, and we decided we'd go and take a run. So anyway, by the gosh, he had one of these little gall darn cars, and the 6 of us tried to get in that little car. We got in it.
You know who sat on the edge?
Yeah.
Of course.
He didn't have any second gear. He just had 2 gears, low and high. And he decided, and he turned to him. He says, "You heard tell of Abel in the Bible?"
Yeah.
He says, "I'm Abel."
Heard of Cain and
Yeah.
Abel.
He says, "I'm Abel." So he took us. We wanted to go to the dungeons. We'd heard tell of the dungeons, and it was a prison made into a shopping mall, right from the street. I mean, they had these doors they lifted up. You just were right along the street. So anyway, Abel took us there, and we got out, and That's where we bought all the coffee for $1 a pound or something like that.
He went in first
Yep.
and asked the owners of the not to harass us by,
Okay.
that we would take our time and look what we would buy. And we never had one, so he did that everywhere we went.
Oh, God. Valuable
Yeah.
guy.
But he was well worth the money.
Yeah.
But anyway, we bought coffee there. Teddy bought 10 pounds. I bought 10 pounds. And after I bought the coffee, I had to buy a bag to put it in. So we bought a bag to put the coffee in to bring it back with us. And anyway, we went out on the street, along the streets there. They were selling tablecloths. They were selling there all kinds of linens and everything. You could buy anything you wanted there. We did our shopping, and Viola, you did get some tablecloths out of it, didn't you? Yes, you got tablecloths out of it. But anyway, we went back to the ship. That's the funny part that's going to come up. But we went back to the ship, and we went aboard. And when we come back, see, what we did, we flew to Jamaica and took the ship out of Jamaica. So when we come back to Jamaica again, we had to get the plane back to Tampa. So we got the plane, to get on the plane, go to Tampa. I let my bag of coffee go with the rest of my baggage. I didn't bother with it. Teddy kept his with him. Teddy kept his bag of coffee with him. When we got off the plane in Tampa, going through the customs, we went through flying colors, and we had to wait, 15 minutes for Teddy? They went working right straight through his bag of coffee, his bag. Examined everything. Never touched us, never said a word.
They were wondering what he was taking out
Yeah,
of Jamaica.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, boy, it's funny. You couldn't bring apples back. You couldn't bring any kind of fruit.
No.
Nothing.
I just need to be able to picture you towing all these boats
Yep.
down to New England. How did you keep them in control?
Well, if you had, you can't do it today, but if you had time, we've got a movie of it.
Oh,
That day, in those days, we had 8mm movies.
yeah.
8mm, and we had pictures taken of all of the tows, and Danny, my son, had it all put into one large
In
thing.
a video.
Yeah.
They end up ordering that for this website.
Yeah, that would show you everything, how we did it and how everything. Yeah, we operated for 10 years, and we went back and forth probably 3-4 times a year, and people would come up and buy them, and they would call us. In fact, we went as far as Lunenburg and got them.
Yeah.
Got a sailing boat out of Lunenburg, and we towed different things. And they took them down. Well, I went as far as New York. There's one little story I want to tell you. This is true.
They're all true, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, but this one, it gets to you. We met a guy by the name of Solo, Dr. Solo. He came here and he stayed with us different times while he's having his boat built. And he had his boat built, and he decided he wanted us to take it down. So we decided, got it all ready. So we took our boat as far as Boston, and then there was 2 boats. One was going down further for that flying officer that was here. Anyway, it was going to go down further, so we decided that we'd steam the other 2 boats. Cecil would take one, and I'd take the other. And we had a fellow by the name of Raymond down there lived. No, lived down in Irishtown down there. Yeah, you remember they lived here where what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in Hermie's house. Anyway, we decided there's 2 men in each boat, see? So we started out from Boston, went down, crossed down to Rhode Island, out that way, and we get over. We were going to take them to a place called Fire Island Inlet, which is on the lower end of Long Island. We went into Fire Island Inlet, and we tied him up there for the night, and the old doctor come down. And he come down, and he says to me, see, some things I had bought and some things Cecil had bought. So he says, I will fix up with you for what I owe you. Well, I didn't pay attention. Then he says to Cecil, and then he said, I'll go see Cecil and pay Cecil. The results, neither one got anything on those deals.
And he probably had lots of money
Yeah,
moving around.
Dr.
Fire
Solo.
Island. Yeah.
He was operated on for cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
What kind of things would you have bought? Did you actually pay for these boats up front?
Yeah, no, he paid for the boat, but Cecil did all the rigging. He liked all the putting the engine in, getting it going, and all that stuff. And see, Cecil had a record of what he had. He said, "I'll fix up with." He said, "I'll go pay Cecil. I'll fix up with Cecil." And see, he just disappeared. Here the boat was there, and we were due to go back to Boston the next morning. Due to go back to Boston, so the results was neither one of them got it.
Oh dear.
So that's things can happen.
Yeah.
That was the worst one that we had. Yeah.
And he stayed at our house, and he
Huh?
also stayed, and Cecil ended up grounded on South.
Oh yeah, that's another story. But the on that same time,
People were like that, only you don't have the force of the
That's it. Yes.
that same time we had to take a train into New York to catch a bus back to Boston, and see, we had all of our bedclothes, we had everything. They were there, and now Louis can read and write, as I told you, and we were in the bus station, the Greyhound bus station, waiting to catch the bus back to Boston. At the same time, there was a Jehovah's Witness meetings in New York, and they were trying to get bus. I don't know just where they were going. Anyway, the place filled full. So I said to Cecil, Cecil, we were here on the corner, there was a set of stairs. I remember going upstairs, and we were in the corner, we had our stuff piled on top of these stairs. I said to Cecil, I think I'll go out and get something just to remember New York by being there. Yeah, Cecil said, I'll go with you. We turned around to Louis. You're not leaving me in New York, by damn sight. You're not leaving me here. He thought we were going to leave him. Oh. No, he's funny. He was a good head. He was the cook. Louis was the cook. And we got our money down there, down to Boston. We used to, at night, coming home, we'd get it out on the table to sort out who we owed and what we had to pay for, And we asked Louis to count it. Louis started counting in French, and he'd go into English, he'd go back into French. Oh. But we had some good times.
It sounds like it.
Now, what was the ones you wanted to, Penny?
No,
About the time, oh yeah. We used to go up into places called Salem. One end of Salem, we had to go underneath these bridges. The bridges that went across the harbor. And we had to go in with the tide. You see, you had to have the tide just right to get underneath them. Yeah. So we had our boat. They opened the bridge for us to take the large boat because she had spars. Take her up, and we used to moor up at a place called Danversport. That's where we used to tie up. And we kept the boats there. So come time, the next morning, we were supposed to deliver two down to Quincy. We had to take two of them. Cecil would take one, I was take one. So we got all ready to take the boats to Quincy, and so we started out. In the meantime, I'd left something on the paperwork to the boat. I'd left it aboard of our boat, so I went back to get it. So when I come out, the channel made a circle like that, went around there's a big bar right in the middle of it like that. We had to go around it to get to the bridge. When I come out, I broke around the corner and looked. Here was Cecil, high and dry. He'd run on the bar. Well, he says, "Can you pull me off?" I said, "I don't believe you're too," because he was going good speed, when I went on there, and it was mud. I said, "I don't believe I can do that." Cecil. I said, "I think what I'll do is take this one down, and have to take the other one tomorrow. Wait till tomorrow morning." So we started out, and we went down. We delivered the one we had, and the chap that I took it to, he drove us back up to Danversport again. And when we get out of the car to go to the boat, we looked, and Cecil was just coming around the corner. He was just coming back. He spent the whole day on there. The next morning, I said, "Cecil," I said, "your turn to take this one." I said, "I took the other one." Next morning, he started out, and everything was going fine, but when he had to go down, he didn't allow for the tide being so high. When he went underneath the bridge, he cleaned the top house off it. That didn't set very good. Huh?
He hit bottom and he hit top.
Gee. Anyway, he never said a word to me about that. I found it out afterwards, on the way home. I don't know who was with him anyway when they told me about him doing it. So I asked him about it. Yeah, I said, had a little accident. I said, "What happened?" He says, "Well, caught on the bridge." I said, "Caught on the bridge?" Yeah. He didn't allow for it. If he had stopped her, he could have put her through by hand, you see. Because when the boat goes, tips the bow up and raises them in the air. Oh, we had some awful wreckage.
So that was just a little sort of sideline
Yeah.
for you, this
Yeah.
throwing boats
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
where did you get the idea? Was anyone
Well,
else doing it?
from that same chap, Teddy Helinski.
Yeah.
We were down there with my sister and Viola and I, and her husband went down to Boston. And I'd always heard tell of Eddie Jaffe, who used to sell car engines, and I was going to buy some car engines to bring back here for the fishermen. So we went in there to see him, and this guy was there. This Teddy was working there. And we got to talking, and Eddie Jaffe introduced me to him. He said, "Here's a guy I'd like to talk boats with you." So we got talking, and he said he'd like to get a new boat. "Oh, that's no problem. That's a place to get boats." "Oh, you're like all the rest of them up there in Canada." He said, "You go back, you never see you again." But he did see me. Anyway, I call, yeah. When I come back home, after we had our trip, in fact, Danny was just a baby, wasn't he? Yeah. Danny was just a baby. We had him with us. And we come back home, and I called some chap that's up at Weymouth Near used to build boats. I called and asked him. And he gave me a price what he would build one for Teddy for, and I got in touch with him, told him what I could get it for. He says, "Get it built." So I got it built, and that's what started the friendship, right from getting his boat. And we towed that boat from Weymouth North. We towed it over to Eastport, Maine. He brought a truck up and brought a load of engines for me, and we hoisted the truck up onto the boat up onto that flatbed that he had, and he took it sailing. In fact, he just sold, what, 2 years ago? Just sold her 2 years ago.
My goodness.
Had all that time. Yeah. So that was Teddy. But he was a wonderful person. He knew everything about the engines.
So you brought a bunch of
Engines.
engines back
yeah.
for fishermen here.
Yeah, and some of them I never got paid for too.
Yeah.
I sold one to one chap. I won't mention any names, but I sold it to him up on the neck there and never got a cent for it. Well, that was all right, but when I come to settle with Jaffe, I had to pay for it. See, he let me have the engines on consignment. Oh dear. But anyway, a lot of fun.
This was about the same time as you were getting involved with McLaughlin. It
Oh,
was 76 that you...
I was in with McLaughlin. I got the boat afterwards, and I used to boat the lobsters over to Graham and then to the pound to him. We boated them to him. In fact, we boated them to him all the while we were doing business with those people. And it went on for quite a few years. But anyway, when I bought the business out, that was just a salt fish business.
Yep.
The lobsters, we took the lobsters, that was my father's business.
Okay.
See, we took them I carried my father's lobsters. I got 2 cents a pound.
I was the boss. He used to call me the night before and tell me what to go tell him to do. And one of the men down there said, "I despise taking orders from a woman." But they didn't do that. No.
Yeah, that was a Barnaby.
So when you took over the fish business, like when your father was in the lobster business, he would buy lobster from people, but he wasn't directly employing people in any other way, was he?
Oh yeah, he had the fish business.
Oh, he had.
Oh yeah, he had a fish business there too.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, DBKenney Fisheries. He had a fish business there. And in fact, as I say, we just tore the last of it down this year.
Right.
See, we had that storm in '76.
Yeah.
That blew the main building blew on its side. So I had bought it from my mother. After Dad died, I bought it out from my mother, and the main building blew over, so we tore it down.
Yeah.
Just kept the office part, which Penny used for 2 or 3 years. Anyway, we kept the office part because I wanted it for, just for a landmark that we owned it. Anyway, after that blew over, the plant that Danny has now was mine. I got from McLaughlin Brothers. I bought it from them. And Danny, as I said, I give it to Danny, and then he took it over. Well, it's been put in there 20 years now, 17, 18 years anyway. And he's made it what it is today. He's going to rebuild it up to its presence.
I guess what when I think of the Kenny name, I think of the major employer on the
Well, see, he had that place in Tiverton too, you know. He had that, one of the Small brothers. And he had just moved from there down here this year, or last year.
Right.
He used to be in Tiverton, but it wasn't paying, so they moved the operation down here so they could keep an eye on it.
Right.
It's operating down here.
Mhm.
Still, yeah, it's still going. I mean, they're still processing fish. In fact, they had a dragger in last night and expecting one today.
Mhm.
It's still, we got into controversy over him selling his quota. You remember that? You probably saw it in the paper.
Yeah, I was working in Prince Edward Island. I actually missed most of that.
Oh yeah, that's well, that was up to him. He wanted to get. He had 22 boats,
Yeah.
and he wanted to get out of it. The boats are getting old, and the government kept.
Costs are low and
Yeah, they went to work and kept cutting the quota, so he got a chance. The government wanted to buy the quota, so he sold it to the government. Got out of it, and in fact, he got 2 or 3 more to sell, and he'll have all the draggers will be gone.
Mhm.
He had 22. All he kept was the scollopers. He kept his scallop boats.
Yep.
He has all of those.
Was that boat your very first boat?
The Robert S. was the first one. My brother bought it, and like I said, he rigged it. He rigged it up, and he got tired of it, and I took over the debt in the bank. I think he owed 2,000 something on it. And I took it over, and I kept it a while. I used it for. We had a seine. We used to go seine in Pollock in the spring, and carried fish with it, carried lobsters, and then I got it in my head I wanted a boat, so I had it. She was just built brand new up at Hillsburn, on the Bay Shore, and I went up there and bought it. I paid $4,300 for it.
How many feet long?
54 feet,
Yeah.
4,300.
Yeah.
That's what I paid for it.
No.
What year was that boat built?
That was built. She was built in '56.
Yeah. Good year.
Yep. So I bought her. What was his name? Longmire. Bernard Longmire built it.
The builder. Yeah.
Yep. He built the boat, and we brought it home, and we used her for towing boats, and we used her for carrying lobsters and carrying herring and everything we could.
It's a real multi-purpose boat. Does it have?
Yeah.
Is it a certain type of boat? Does it have a certain name?
Well, it was a scalloper, built for a scalloper, and he sold it to me. And then we went from that to another one. I sold that one across to New Brunswick. She went originally. No, she went to New Brunswick over to Deer Island. Fogo. Not one of those, but anyway, I had 2 or 3 others after that. The last one I had is that blue one. That blue one right there, that's the model of this. That one there's the last one I had. And that's got history. Can you remember when the towboat sank that seiner down off of Yarmouth?
Nope.
You should.
No, I don't.
Can't you remember that Art Ells was the captain of this towboat, and he run over top of it. She was a seiner, and she had the seine on her. He run over it and sank it, and there's a man in the bottom. Remember, they cut the hole and got the man out alive?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, that's her.
Yeah.
Silver King
Yeah.
was the name of it. And they went over and took it into Yarmouth and stayed there for a while. And the people over here, Matagan Shipyard, owned it. They built it and they owned it. And they took it up there and hauled it out and rebuilt it. And I bought it from them. That's where I got it. And I kept her for 3 or 4 years. Danny run it. In fact, Danny and Roy run it. They run it for a couple of years, and it wound up. I sold it in Newfoundland. Yep.
Who built your models for you?
The models. That one there's history. That was built by Captain Payson. Lived over here on the corner. Captain Payson built that one, and it. Charlie McDormand got it from Village Hicks, took it to Frank Shaw, and Frank Shaw rigged it, and he wanted $50 for rigging it. He said, if you pay for the rigging, you can have it. And I bought it for $50, and I still got it. Yeah. You see the sign that's on it, do you?
Yes.
Look at the figurehead underneath under the bow there.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You must know Shirley Clayton, didn't you? Cindy? Did you?
You heard of them.
Yeah, he's like a hundred at the beginning, a hundred at the end.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that other one over there.
Yeah.
And the one on the top.
Beautiful.
He did that one.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
I've been offered quite a lot of money for that one.
Yeah.
because that's the last salt vessel that ever came here, Lillian E. Kerr. And so I said, as long as I'm around, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
So we've kept it. Yeah.
What was the salt vessel's purpose? Not
Salt. Carried salt. Yeah, go to Turks Island.
To put his loader
Yeah.
down in the hull of the hull,
Put them in the hole.
put it in the hole,
Yeah.
and they used to scoop it.
Scoop the salt up. See, salt was very heavy. I worked in salt boats for 10 cents an hour.
You worked where for 10 cents an hour?
In shoveling salt, 10
Yeah.
cents an hour.
What year was that?
I was just a young fellow.
Yeah.
I worked for Barkhouse for 10 cents an hour.
so that's a sailing ship. So you can remember.
Yep, oh yes, yep, a lot of them. I remember on the Westaway went ashore down at Pond Cove. It was on a Sunday. She went ashore and they dismasted her. She was owned by people in Weymouth owned it, Viola. No. Well, what you call it? Teddy Moore's wife was her brother, Brooks. Yep. They dismasted her down there and took the spars out and put them in another vessel. But she was a total loss. In fact, you've seen it. You kids have been down there and seen it. Some of the remnants of her are still there. The ribs and that stuff. Yeah. The three brothers owned that public over the three of them. Yeah, I know Andy was a skipper. And I saw them go up the main stay going up to the topmast, go up the main stay and go down the other one and go make the whole circle go right down. They were just light. They were only about, they only weighed 125 or 30 pounds at that time, but boy, they were supple.
A little bit of that kind of action when the tall ships were here this year.
Yeah.
People hanging from the
Rigging.
rigging.
Oh, yeah. You got to be sure-footed on that, haven't you? Yeah. Well, how are you making out?
Well, we could talk to you all day. You want to take a break, though?
Take a break.
He might drive him to his first drink.
You used to raise foxes, did?
Yeah, we raised foxes.
We raised
Yeah.
foxes when we were first married.
Yeah.
'Cause I used to help.
Yeah, we raised foxes. I had a tame one. I had one. His name's Mushy.
Mushy.
Mushy. Yeah, his mother kicked him out, and I got him and took him. And Ines Moore over there had a female cat with kittens, and she put him in with those kittens, and that cat raised that fox.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he raised him until he got big, started to so he wanted to eat. And when he wanted to eat, if another kitten was there, he turned his back stern towards him, so to push him out of the way. I can remember him. And we had a dog. We had a dog here too. And Mr. Man, he'd make the dog hustle. He wouldn't give him a chance to do anything. He grew. The body of him was that long. It was a big fox, silver fox, silver black. And we raised him for years. We had him there, but the bottom went out of that, and he couldn't make any money. So my father sold him.
What caused the bottom to go to fox farming?
It's just like everything else. The mink family's gone a lot of it too. Overproduction.
Oh, okay. Yes.
There was a large one in Tiverton. Elliott's had a large one up there.
Fox.
Fox farm, oh, a large one. They had hundreds. Oh yeah, I think we had about 75. But you had to feed them. You had to feed them feed them bread and some stuff they had made up for them. There was same as the dog food. You fed them that, and then you give them the good meal at night. Boys, I'm telling you, they were slippery birds. I had a good many bites from them.
Oh, yeah?
Blood poison,
Yeah, I got poisoned.
Yeah.
One of them.
Bite.
Yeah, from my fingernail.
Yeah.
But that's old Mushy. He was quite a character.
I didn't know you could tame a fox.
Yeah, we tamed him.
Yeah?
We brought him here, not here, but over home there. We kept him over there, and I kept him in the wood house at night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let him out. I let him out in the yard. I never tied him or anything. He'd follow me around with his tail just a wagging all the time. Tail just going all the time.
So raising foxes had nothing to do. It wasn't at all complementary with fish plant
No.
waste or anything like that.
No.
You didn't feed them fish. So.
Yeah, we fed him fish. We had to grind it.
Yeah.
We had a grinder down in we had what we called a pellet shed. We had a shed up there, and we had a grinder in there. We grind the meat and grind the fish together. to feed them.
So this is a whole new industry. You had to teach yourself
Yeah.
and learn. All
Yeah.
the foxes,
We-
kind of farming.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
bought them. We bought them up in Tiverton up here, where we got the foxes to start
Yeah.
with. But I think he had 3 pair we started with, and then you buy from some other breeder, get your breed up, to keep going ahead. But it was a nerve-wracking outfit. You had to keep at them things all the time. You had to go in those cages and clean them out yourself. You had to go clean them. See, they had a little house affair built inside, and a little opening for them to go in, and inside of it was another little building made out of cedar. That was on kind of fleas. It was made of cedar about this long, and they go in around it and go into their little nest, where the nest was. That's the females. Oh, yeah, it was quite a.
About what years
Oh gosh.
was this taking place?
Well-
For how long?
Oh, it's before I was married.
Yep.
Before I was married, because Mushy was gone.
Yes,
Mm.
but you raised one for me and I had made into a next.
Yeah. Had a neck piece made up of one.
Okay, it's earlier than I would have thought.
Yeah, I was probably 18, 19 years old when he got them. It's been quite a while. Because that one up there, that one they had up in Tiverton was an immense great thing. That's been gone for years and years. We raised the silver black. That's what they were. And used to take them and go to up to Bridgetown. They'd you'd go up, take your pelts up there, and they would assess them and one thing and another and see what you're going to get for them. But they had at that time they had a marketing outfit to sell them for you.
Do you remember what you would have got for a good pelt in those days?
Oh, $60, $70.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
big money.
Yeah. Oh yes, I've had dogs since I was 7 years old.
Yes.
This poor little fellow here don't like to talk about it. Anyway, I was a part shepherd. He was a part shepherd and he was a part water dog. He was born over here in Freeport. Fred Brooks, you probably heard tell the name. Fred Brooks, he has a daughter. He only had one daughter. Anyway, he raised these dogs, and I bought one, and I didn't dare to bring it home, so I hired Georgie Clements down here, Irishtown, to keep it for me until he got big enough so I could train him. And that dog, hard to believe the things that he would do. We go to work and write a note, give him a basket, put the note in the basket, give him a nickel, and he put a nickel under his tongue, hold it, go to the store, do an errand. Just let him go. Say, well, go ahead. His name was Rex. So Rex, you go down to Arthix's and do an errand. He'd take that basket, and away he'd go. If a dog stopped him on the way, he'd set his basket down, and whatever they had to say to him, he wanted to say it. That's how he was, that's true. And he'd go down the store. If he wanted an ice cream, he'd have a nickel under his tongue or a dime. He'd go up, put his feet up on the counter and spit it out to him. Arthix would give him his ice cream. Yeah, really train. And he could take an egg. I put an egg in his mouth, and he'd jump over a fence with an egg in his mouth. Never crush it.
Unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
It was just an ordinary dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the only story you've told us that could possibly be far-fetched, but I believe it.
What do you mean far-fetched? Ask her.
It's the nickel under the tongue.
Yep. Oh yeah. He put.
The reason we got rid of them
Yeah.
was because when Brianne came along,
Yeah.
he was so jealous of her that he didn't dare leave anywhere near her.
Yeah.
And so Dad was going away in the boat, and I had made connections with someone in the Oregon, and they took him to me. So he'd be gone.
Yeah. He jumped the fence. Yeah.
Gee.
Jumped the fence with a basket of eggs. He'd do anything.
Yeah.
It just seems though that you talk to him, he'd put his head on one side, he'd listen to you. He was some dog. I never seen one. If I could have been, in fact, I sent it to Ripley's one time. What was the one that?
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I sent it to Ripley's one time about him. He really was smart. Toby was his father. Yeah, and then we had one named Thumper, a shepherd. Danny had the dog, and he they had him down in. They kept him in the porch, and of course, the first thing they got a mess or two, and they got disgusted, and he come up by and wanted to know if I want the dog. So we took the dog, and we had Thumper until he died up in hospital up in Kentville. But we used to take him to Florida. I take him to Florida with me every winter. He'd sit in the back of that wagon, go just as big as Billy the Dam. Didn't make a difference to him. And I would go down every day. I'd go down to get a newspaper, and to get a newspaper, I wouldn't put him on the walk. They had a boardwalk, walk over to the office. I'd say, Thumper, you sit here. I'm going to go get a paper. He'd sit there, and I'd come back. He'd sit there, and everybody went by him. He never looked sideways. Never made no difference. He really, really was trained. And there was a lady. Remember that man and woman that had a dog and wanted to know if I trained their dog for them. You can't train a dog unless it's a good dog, because they learn so quick. Anyway, we had him, and I was away in the truck. I was trucking for Danny. I was running fish to Boston, and he got, who took him to Kentville? Penny took him to Kentville. And he died up there. Huh? Had a what? Oh, yeah, do everything. He really was smart. I've had two that really was smart. Yeah. But the first started out, I got first dog I ever got was a collie. They got it from I was 7 years old down here, down at Gull Rock Farm. Charlie Rogers had the farm, and he gave the dog to Dad. Dad brought it home under his coat. That. And we had him for quite a while, Rex. And he was collie. But the most important dogs that I had were shepherds that you could do anything with.
But your collies would be new home girl, weren't they? Yep.
And then we had a gray one. Gray, you remember that one you used to watch, you fellows, every movie made? Prince. But these little ones here, they're clever. They can learn. But we had one before we had this last one. We had a little gray one. It was the same Shih Tzu, and man, it was a nice little dog. But by the G, you couldn't train him. Couldn't train him. You couldn't trust him a bit.
They're very hard to train.
Yeah, high strung.
Yep. This little guy here, this last one, never had one thing from the time. If he gets sick, you can't help it. But as far as making a mess in the house, never.
No.
Nothing. Always the same.
That's good with the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there now. Where are we now?
I want to find out a few of Dan's views on fishing over the years. The big picture. Who was it we were talking to the other day and said years ago the lobster declined and they came back again?
Yeah, they did. They did decline. Yeah.
What would have caused that? Do you have any
I don't know. When we were buying on the shore from Watson, Harry, and those boys out there, if you got 500 pounds the first day, that was it. And then the next day it'd be 200. But I mean, they drop right down quick. But now they got these large boats and they fish so far from home. Yeah, they go everywhere. And they're fishing where they'd fish 100, 115 traps. They're fishing 300 now. It makes a big difference. In 1970, I took Dad's plant over. Took over the lobster business. After he died, I took over the lobster business. If we got 100 crates of lobsters the first day, exceptional. Exceptional.
Yep. From about how many boats would that be?
Probably 30.
Yep.
Last year, 700.
Yep.
First day. So that's the difference. Another thing, the techniques. No, it's okay. The techniques that they use today are so much different too, because they have these fish finders and they have these everything to work with, which they didn't have in those days. If you found a piece of bottom, you found it by mistake. You didn't know. Now they know where every bit of it is. It's a lot of difference. They got more equipment aboard those boats now.
Still, there were people that probably knew, for example, St. Mary's Bay, like the back of their hand without any equipment. They could picture in their head probably what it looked like.
They could. They could tell just what the depth of the water. There's one place along that shore that if they got off 50 feet one side, they get off in the mud. Yep. They had to be just exactly on the spot, so they didn't get anything. But see, the lobsters in the first of the season are inshore anyway because they seek the warmer temperatures. They follow it along. Yeah, it's been we've had that place full of lobsters down there. We've had to have a man stay there and water them down all night. We didn't have room for them.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. Yeah. I see us go up in St. Mary's Bay, Pollock saying, when I had the old Robert S. go up there and make one set and load her, 54,000, one set.
So how much of your life were you actually fishing as opposed to running?
Oh, just the first of it.
Yep.
Because I was running, I had the fish plant for Glenn, and then I was looking to see that Dad and us, we all had fish, and we sold them to Connors, we sold them to Davis, and we sold them to the co-op down here and different people.
Where did you learn how to navigate so well that you could go to Boston and New York?
I never took a lesson of any kind.
Nope. You're just intrepid.
Yep, more of the main straight and the stupidness. Yep. Yep, I knew the stars were, that's all right. But you know, we never, while I had a boat, I never put a boat ashore. Never had it ashore. We hit one coming up through Muscle Ridge one time. Louis was steering, and I had a radio telephone I'd bought down there, and Cecil had one, and we were playing with this radio telephone. So Louis was steering, and he says, "What side the buoy will I go on?" I said, "Don't make any difference." First thing, back end come up, and the front end went down. We went over top. We never hurt her, and I took the shoe off her, but that's all. You remember we got over?
Greeting and the baby here.
Yeah, got over to the customs over there. I'd been to New York and bought a radio telephone. Remember? Yep. I bought this radio telephone in New York, and I was bringing it home. I got the customs over there, and they weren't going to let us come because the guy that I was supposed to appraise them wasn't there. It was on a Sunday night. I told him, I said, "I got to catch that boat in the morning." I said, "I got 2 sick kids out there." After arguing with him for a while, I told him, I said, "I'll pay the duty. I'll give you my name and everything. You'll get your duty. You needn't worry about it." But I said, "You're going to assess it now, and if anything coming back to me, you can send it to me. It doesn't matter." So after a while, see that this were surplus. That's what it was. And we bought it down in New York. And I remember, anyway, after, how long was I there? A couple of hours persuading them to let me go? After a while, huh? Oh yeah, that was funny. Yeah, you should show them that on the tape. They got that on tape in there. They went from the put the Joshua Slocum Monument down to Southern Point down here.
Yeah.
They were going to bring a cruiser or something from Yarmouth up here to dedicate it. They had all the naval guys and everything because he was a seaman, Josh Slocum. Anyway, they get ashore in Yarmouth Harbor somehow. They got ashore and struck the boat, and they got up here off here. It was thick fog. The boat was out there blowing, and no one would go out to them. So I took Louis, and I don't know who else was with me. I said, "Let's go out and get them." So we went out, the Danny and Penny, and then I had a radar on her. I went out and picked her up, and went up alongside. And they were hesitant. They didn't want to bring it in. I said, "You follow me, I'll take you in." Okay. So we brought him up through the big passage and around the buoy and down so we get to the wharf. It was because it was clear in the harbor. It was just out the mouth of the passage. That's where it was at. Anyway, when we had our 60th anniversary, there was a chap that lives down. There's a guy down here. He comes there every summer. He has a summer home here, and he's from down South Carolina. And he gets up, I guess, and tells how I rescued the Canadian Navy. That was funny. Yeah.
They think everything Buffett does is A1 anyway.
I'm sure.
But anyway, it's been a lot of good things, been a lot of hard things. I shipped a load of codfish to New York one time, a trailer load. And I used to ship them to Eastern Commission, which is a big outfit. You want to get back to fish stories. It's a big outfit down there. We used to ship them, all of it. Everything was fine. We had no problem. We shipped them for years. So anyway, he said he wanted a load of codfish, and it had to be dried. So we got a load of codfish, and we shipped them down to him. And just the time we got them down, the price went down. Well, he says, I'll have to put them in cold storage. Well, I said, if you have to, you have to. I said, anyway, in the meantime, he sold out to a Japanese outfit. And that went on for a year, I don't know, almost 2 years. And the first thing I got a bill from this Japanese outfit for codfish that I had shipped 2 years before. Got a bill for the storage where they had put them in cold storage. Had ate up everything. I got nothing. So that's my experience in New York.
What would cause the price to decline so quickly?
Well, see, those days, I don't even see. Dominican Republic's all American money. We were paid American money, and a lot of those countries. Now I can tell you the instance on the Dominican Republic. I shipped pollock down there one time. I think it was in the spring of the year. Anyway, I didn't get my money till the next year. What they did, they froze the assets of the country, and they wouldn't let them send the money out. He says, you're going to get your money, but he says, I can't tell you when. And that's when Pete Milburn was banker over in Freeport. He was a bank manager, and I don't know if he doubted me or what, but anyway, you know what he used to do? Every Thursday, the bank come over here every Thursday afternoon. He'd get me, and he'd go up and count the fish in the cooler, see how many I had up there, see if I'd sold any in the between. Because he doubted me, you see, that wasn't my fault. The money was, I had to borrow money from the bank then to operate because my money was all down south. I couldn't get it. What was it, a year was it before I got that money? A year. So it wasn't all sunshine. A lot of people think, because you're in the fish business, you're doing all right, but that's not always the case.
No.
Because if you strike the market all right, you're going to do all right. But if you don't, you're going to take what they give you. And you're here and they're over there. And how do you know what they're doing? You have no way.
In those days, you didn't have the internet or anything. Most of your business was done by, you did a lot of stuff on the phone. Were you on the phone a lot? Oh, yeah. But here I'll tell you what it is today. Years ago, they only had the telephone. You didn't know what was going on. The price could be $1 down in Yarmouth. It could be 90 cents up here. How do you know it? Unless somebody calls or something, that's the only way you know. And that's the way, since the telephone and the radio telephone, the boats has come in. There's 50 cents down there and there's 30 cents here. They're going to be 50 cents before the Azo. You're going to be sure because the word travels pretty fast. Yeah. That really happens. Yeah. Lots of times, yeah. And if it goes the other way, it also happens the other way too. They don't tell you sometimes until it's after you've bought them, then you find out that the price has gone down somewhere else, and you're stuck with a high-priced article, and they got the cheaper one. They can undersell you. Mm-hmm. It's very competitive. Yeah. Yeah.
How far did you go in school?
I went through grade 11.
You did?
Yep. No college education, no nothing. Grade 11, yep.
So when you were a boy and going to grade 11, what did you expect you would do as an adult?
Well, I was going farming.
You were?
Yeah. When I got married, I was a farmer. But it soon changed because I see that there wasn't any money in it. I couldn't make any money. So that I went with my father and got a basic training from him, learned what it was all about. And as like I say, I started with McLaughlin. My break came when I went with him. Yes. That's when I got my break.
At one point, did you have to formally merge the McLaughlin business with your father's? Or?
No. There was two separate outfits. And we had one bookkeeper, did both business.
And that would be?
Myrna Guerin.
Yeah, we wanted to ask about her.
Yep. Myrna Guerin went there, and she was 17 years old with my father. And she went with my father until he died, and then she stayed with me. And then Danny come along, and she spent 4 or 5 years with Danny, 3 generations.
My goodness.
Yep. She went there, and she's 17, and she stayed all of her life. But in those days, everything was cash. There's no checks.
Yep.
Everything, we went to the bank. I'd have to go to the bank and get the money, have it over here for when they paid for the lobsters, paid for them in cash.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of difference, I'll tell you. But now they got, what, 7 or 8 in the office down there?
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah. Your father stayed in business up until the day he
Yeah,
died?
yeah, he was still had the business, and we didn't do it. Like I said, the last, how many years did I operate? 5 years? Last 5 years of his life?
Oh, yeah.
5 or 6 years I operated for him.
Yeah.
But I had them both together. What I used to do, I used to buy for both. I always kept them going, so that I wouldn't take it away from him because he'd spent his life at it. So when
He wouldn't.
Huh?
I did not want to cooperate with government.
no, nothing.
Regulations anyway.
Yeah.
And so he wouldn't upgrade
The plant,
business.
yeah, wouldn't upgrade
And
it.
Dad had processed his fish up at his plant
Yeah,
in order to market them.
yeah. What I did, see, I operated all under one so that I could keep his going, but I could sell his fish for him. He
Okay.
couldn't sell them because he wasn't inspected. And that's when inspections first started.
What year would this be now?
In the 60s.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when it first started. They come in with all these different regulations and one thing and another, and it's been going on ever since. Ever since. Yeah.
So what's the biggest change you think you've seen?
In the fishing business,
Yeah.
well, when it collapsed is the biggest change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think it ever would, but I could see it coming though. That when they had so many draggers and so many boats into it, and the letting it, the government backed National Sea Products. They own part of it, and they backed them, and they got so large, see, that they were too large,
Mm-hmm.
and it just couldn't stand it. The result is that we're out. Although, I mean, Danny's doing all right. We're buying fish now. He's getting fish from Alaska, Norway, everywhere. Buying them everywhere. They're trucking them into us.
Yeah.
They arrive frozen now?
Yep. Oh, yeah. And then we process them here.
Yep.
Put them in our packages and make whatever the order calls for. They do salmon. They do everything. Every kind of fish that swims, they do it now. Yeah. We buy scallops cheaper down in Virginia than we can here.
Unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were taking codfish. You don't listen to this. They're taking codfish, buying them in Alaska, transporting them by ship to China, processing them in China, and bringing them back to the United States cheaper than we can put them up here. In China, they pay $25 a week for labor, but they have a big boarding house. They supply everything, food and everything, and $25 a week. And they do not have forklifts or anything. It's all done by hand, everything by hand. No forks, no nothing. And it's altogether a different world. And they only take them from 18 to 25. After they get 25, they have to get out. They can't stay there.
In age? They're workers?
Yeah.
you mean? Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
They live in a communal.
Commune, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, probably pretty close quarters.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
very, very clean.
Danny sent one of his bosses down there. They sent him over to see what they were doing. Sent him right over there and watched the whole process and come back with a film on it.
Oh.
He had the whole thing in film. Well, see, when it happened, that was good. He did that for, 4 or 5 years. The first thing, the Chinese people go, oh, they're doing this, why can't we do it? So they buy the fish from Alaska and take them to China and sell them to the United States. That ended that.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, there's always somebody at the other side. And it was a good thing while it happened. He bought fish, millions of pounds, and never even see them. See, we just go and process them, bring them in. Now we're buying them, like I say, we have to buy them from those countries like the United States up here in Alaska, and from Norway, and from Iceland. They bring them in from Iceland. Bring pollock in from Iceland. Then they take them down. He has a plant down in Clark's Harbor, which is where my father came from. He has a plant down there, and they process them down there. He's got another large plant in Jador.
No?
You seen that lobster place there?
No, but I know where it is.
So
Yeah.
that's his. 70% of it's his. He's got another one in Rhode Island, lobster place. I mean, he's diversified. He's got different places. I shouldn't tell this stuff
What future do you see for your grandchildren in the picture?
Grandchildren. She said, I got one now. She's got one there that's just craving to get into
Is
it.
that so?
Yeah.
Which one's that now?
Chad.
Chad is.
Yeah.
The one asking not too long ago what he wanted to do when they get in school. So, well, I might play ball for the Blue Jays, and I might play hockey for the Boston Bruins, and in the meantime, I'm going to go fishing. And she goes, Chad, there's no fish left. Chad, she said, don't let anybody fool you. There's always one more out there, that old boy.
It's in his blood.
Yeah.
Blood.
Yeah.
After he
Now we'll
took
let her tell a little bit of her. Oh, I got the one story. The one story that.
Daniel's a good fisherman, Dad.
Oh, I'm not saying that. There's one story that there's been a lot. I could go on for hours on the story deal, but there was one that I pulled off that I was really proud of. Her mother lived in Little River, and her father, and I thought I was doing quite well. I was earning a fairly good living at that time, so we were dealing at that time with Irvin Oil, and we were selling their products here. So I said to myself, I didn't tell her. She didn't know anything about it. So I told the Irvin Oil guys, you go up, and you fill her mother oil tank, fill it full. And I said, you keep it full until you hear otherwise. He went up. She drove him away.
Your mother or
yeah,
you?
her mother. She said she was getting her oil from Imperial Oil. Drove him away. So he come back. I said to him, how'd you make out? He said, I didn't. He said, I didn't make out. He says, she wouldn't let me put any on it. I said, when you go up the next time, you fill it, regardless. And he went and he filled it. So the funny part of the story is, but anyway, he filled it and he kept it full. So her and I went up there to see her mother. I walked in. She says, hello, Santa Claus. That's what she said to me. Hello, Santa Claus. Oh, I said, what do you mean? The Viola looked at me
No,
just.
I looked at them both. I didn't know what was going on.
She didn't know what was going on. See, I never told her. I hadn't said a word. So, well, I said, I just thought probably it'd help you out a little bit, because I could buy it wholesale and they had to pay the retail price.
Sure.
We were buying it, shipping it out. So anyway,
She explained to me what Dan had been doing.
Oh.
yeah,
You scored points.
yeah. Anyway, it went on until
Until Dad
yeah,
had to leave the house.
yeah. I
You
wouldn't-
used to play Santa Claus. I remember when I was little, we used to make Laura all the movie families feel like food and beef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah.
We're going to get you to tell us about that maybe. Yeah. So turn it around
Well,
like that.
actually, I wasn't the one that did it. He was the one that did it.
That's why I'm getting you to tell me about it, because he probably won't blow his own horn.
Well, he would pick out the ones that needed it, the ones he felt that needed it. So, he's buying, if he needed jackets or boots or, it was not, candy or junk food or anything like that. It was something very useful. And, it wouldn't only be children, no. that he did it for.
No, but it used to be families with kids, because I remember going down the store and
Yeah.
they were showing the boxes and things and
Yeah.
for what they needed.
Right.
When I was little.
So that was appreciated.
Well,
Do you want to ask a few questions about the Women's Day? I'm just wondering if we should take the most off stand. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It usually picks up pretty well between
City of Pines?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
a little worried about what we might have missed.
That
Over
one
there.
could probably have gotten much there, but if you...
Miss, what do you mean?
Just comments from Viola.
Oh yeah, well, get them, sure.
Here, let me just... So it should be nice and crisp and clean.
This could go on till midnight.
It could easily. Here, try
He
that
had more
one.
to tell than I did.
And lift that leg. There we go.
No.
The accordion is.
Oh, boy. If you see Sandy.
But she was always, when I was away in the boat, no matter when I called her on that radio telephone, she always answered.
Oh,
She was
nice.
superstitious too. We weren't allowed to watch Dad at a fight. never allowed them to watch his boat sail out of sight
Why was that?
because it would have been bad luck for him.
Was that your own superstition, or is that
That had been handed down.
handed down? Yeah.
Generation.
Did you, we always went out just coming back, just for dusk. That's when we always left it. Midnight.
Yeah.
We'd sail all night, because I knew everything, around Graham and the big areas. We knew what it like, and we always wanted to get on the other American shore just on daylight this morning. So we'd let it go down below everything. And then the bay wasn't too much traffic in it. The boats were back a long ways,
Yep.
I went a great deal
Sometimes
with
you ever
him
get
because I took Danny with me.
Yeah.
And we never
I'd love
went
to see
anywhere without
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
He was the only son. We didn't go anywhere without him.
Yeah, took him everywhere.
We did leave him at one time. Myrna told on when he was driving the big truck down the back road without any lights on. So after that, he went with us. Oh, that was when he was a lot younger.
I see you go by the shop and I looked. I said, that's my truck. It was a big one, wasn't it? It was a little one. And gee, and I looked at just to see a head stick it up. Danny behind the wheel, and Jimmy was clearer than Danny.
And he was using the pedals.
And I used to buy little cars for the girls. They had them all named and everything. That's when they were
Learning to drive.
learning to drive. And we used to put them up there in the field, and go look at them drive up there.
Then I would have to take them to get their test. Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one didn't go on towboat, does anybody know?
You what?
I was the only one that didn't go on the tow.
No,
No,
she
you
never
don't.
did go. The rest of them all
I
went.
took them.
I was too
I
little.
took Gail, her husband, I took them, and I took Nancy and her husband, I took them when we made the trip.
What an adventure that would
Oh,
be.
yeah.
And usually when we took the girls with us, it was summertime. And so they liked it. Gail went, and of course Danny went every time. But he was my guide because he had a good sense of direction. And when Dad would stop in these cities like Portland and everything, we could leave the boat, and I'd make sure I'd be getting back okay, because Danny had the right direction. My sense of direction wasn't that good.
When you were a little girl in Little River, did you ever come down to the islands at all?
No, I had never been down.
What did you hear about the islands?
I don't recollect hearing too much about them because I spent 2 years high school in Bridgetown in the valley with my aunt. So,
Yeah.
and then you see I had everything all planned and to be a trained nurse, and I was just putting in time down here until it was ready for me to go. I had my money all saved and everything for that, for my uniforms and everything. And, but it didn't take place. I married Daniel Kenney instead. And have a very beautiful family, very caring family. We are very fortunate.
So I was intrigued by the person that said they didn't want to take orders from a woman. So you had a role in the business besides.
I did the bookkeeping and and then Cliff would come from St. John, the auditor, and do it every year. And then you see, like when he went on those boat trips, I used to have to go down and tell them what Dad had told me to tell them to do for that day. And this guy said, "How I hate to take the orders from that woman in the morning." I happened to overhear him, but I mean, he wasn't disrespectful to me or anything. They were all very good.
Did you worry a lot when Dan was off to sea or off on a...
No, I didn't worry about him, but I like to hear from him every day because I was very confident that that he would be careful and he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
So you don't worry that much when you have that much confidence in anyone.
Didn't he get wrong though, if you remember, you always used to say, like, Dad wasn't home. If he had a cat, a dog, or
Yes.
land, but, you know, you always say baby's name.
If Daddy was home, never would have died. And that used to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
I couldn't fix it. But Daddy could have if he'd been home. Mhm.
Christmas morning was a big time around here.
Well, when you came home those
Right.
boat trips also.
These are the boat trips when you were delivering boats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I spent a whole
He would buy them, whatever occasion it was, spring, fall, whatever. He'd buy them all their new outfits, shoes, coat, everything.
And you had total confidence in him. that He
Right.
would choose
And
the
he
right stuff,
would
too.
buy their dolls for Christmas and Valentine's Day. He'd bring them these big, huge baskets. He was a very thoughtful dad.
Good family man.
Bring home stray dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Dog that
Yeah.
makes abuse. Just bring us home these dogs from the States that we don't want. Birds, goldfish.
You never knew what.
Birds and goldfish.
You did, eh?
Yes, I brought them from Eastport, Abner.
And you brought the canaries too. I didn't like the canaries, but and I don't care for birds, but that Budgie was a real smart bird.
Oh, yeah.
And then I made her frightened of birds because every time they let Abner out, he was really Gail's pet. I would run for her in there and close the glass door. She'd be right behind me.
Deception.
All right.
As you take over 60 years, what can happen to you?
I guess.
To be able to remember some of this is quite a problem.
It seems to be.
Especially when they start remembering you're getting older. You remember it yourself. Pardon? Yes, he has.
Well, I think you have a remarkable sense of the whole world. Was your father like this? Obviously, you don't have your father's temperament.
No, I haven't got my father's temperament, so I told you, he fired me 3 times in one day.
Well, I fired my son 3 times in one day in a woodpile last week, but that was not a good idea.
No, probably wasn't.
See, the reason is the guys that are working there, they wouldn't talk back to him.
Yeah.
But just the minute he said something to me, I was young and I was full of fire, I'd sauce him or something, say something, get him.
Oh, you were another young Daniel.
No, not that, but I talked back to him. But he told you, when it boiled right down to the end of it, when it, after things get going, he told her what he thought.
Well, you see, when you're younger, you're quicker to
Yeah.
retaliate.
Yeah.
But it's hard to believe we're sitting here in your living room in Westport to think of the vision you have had of the whole world.
Yeah.
Something about how you know people or something, that you can make these connections, like even this connection in Salem, is it Massachusetts?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that.
My
You stayed with us, I mean, see,
and
that
your
happened
best
way back.
friends, really, you relate more to them because we have friends that lived across the street where we lived in Florida, and they have kept in touch with us ever since we sold our home. And they've had a lot of trials and tribulations with cancer and everything, but she's very faithful in writing on our birthdays, and she's had a lot to bear, hasn't she? And seems that you just meet someone special, and it's very, very nice.
Well, you gotta bring in those, I'm sure what my latest hobby is.
I'm gonna get a couple of shots of these,
That's what he's talking about.
That clock there come out of a German submarine.
oh, it did.
I bought that in
That's a
Florida.
propeller.
Yeah, I thought of it.
Well, what do you think accounts for your interest in everything.
I guess
think
he's
it counts
born
for your-
that way.
You're just born that way.
No, I don't know.
This is what he does.
Oh.
And all this, see the puffins up
Yeah.
there, and the birds and the animals he makes,
Oh, that's wonderful. I saw them.
Yeah.
My goodness.
and it makes baskets.
These you collect in Florida? Wow,
Yes.
That's a beautiful.
So Nancy and I film in our gift shops and things.
Okay. Gorgeous. Look at the character on this little fella.
Lobster claw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shell by shell,
Oh,
get
what
'em in.
beautiful work. That's
Yeah.
painstaking. Wow. Very, very nice.
I don't think they would
Can't hurt
drop or crack.
No, they're
Can't hurt
strong.
them. They're
Yeah.
solid. Just press on the sides of it. Just as solid, do it.
What's this stuff that you set them in?
Glue,
That's glue? Yeah?
glue,
And a hold him here so you see.
hot glue. That's the
Hold it up properly,
run. And I put a
dear.
finish on top of the glue. This one's got another coat. They use, I don't know, what is it, guys?
I really don't know.
On the epoxy.
No,
No,
it's two chemicals, you mix them together.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know what you're
Tabletop
talking
finish.
about, yeah.
He's in his
Oh.
whale tails, but he hasn't got the white on. So
Oh,
the
they're
whale
great.
looks like it's coming out of the water.
With the
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Then he makes little strips.
That's fun. Look at the
Yeah.
little rabbit.
Some character, some of those guys.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yes.
Every shell he gets in his own.
But I collected these shells and I had them, we had,
She wants to get a shot of this one.
I got it.
Did you?
Yeah.
she had, two down in her office that I had made and they had hats on them, and they weren't like this, but anyway, the girl in the office sold them. So
Yeah.
she
And they were just for
said she
ornament.
didn't have any, so I said, well, I'll take this one here, and so I put it together. I haven't got a finish on it yet, I just put it on, stuck a hat on it. Well, because I down there, a
Needs a
lot of
bigger
time on my
hat.
hands, that's how I get into it. I started,
Yeah.
and I go to, what I do, I go to a flea market, or they have the large ones down there, and I see a piece and I buy it, and I take it back and stuff it.
Kenny critters. Kenny critters.
Yeah.
Cute. Well, I'm gonna get some pictures of your boats.
Okay.
Pictures of you too. And we should probably let you start thinking about your Saturday
Oh, no,
supper.
we got us,
Yeah.
No. Pictures.
I only hope that we've been some,
Oh,
everything else that
wonderful.
you had that you reading off of your list there, or?
We just abandoned the list and let you talk. We could do that forever. I am interested in knowing that while the tape's rolling, you were telling me that you knew Elwood, and you still talk to Elwood Titus?
Yeah.
And
He
Tell me about those-
He called me, in fact, he called me, he was in the hospital when I was in there, and I used to go to his room, and we sit and talk for the hour. Elwood, representative.
Yes, but I wasn't at the hospital as frequently as the girl,
yeah,
and I don't have any recollection of going in there with you that day. I went to see Myrna, because Myrna was like family to us for so many years. Myrna Guerin,
yep.
the bookkeeper.
Is she still alive? Or
Yes, she's at
She's
Tideview.
in Highview? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, it seems like the whole company was built on loyalty and just a real...
We worked together, I mean, never once, did Dad never question me when I made a decision. In fact, I used to go transport fish for Graham and Ann, give him half of them, and I could buy with them. And we worked to each other. We worked out okay. We had no problem. Of course, I got older, but I mean, in the first it was kind of scary for a
Yeah.
while.
Well, that's because I think that Dan was so much younger, and his father had it in the head. Well, he's got a lot to learn, and I think that possibly that was a lot of their problem.
There will be some kind of a grand opening for this, or a launch, I should say, for this whole project. probably
The
after
project
municipal
sounds
building.
very
Oh, it's gonna be
interesting.
wonderful. What will happen? I might as well, yeah, I might
Look at
take
the
that with us.
candlesticks off that.
Boat,
You know,
Yeah.
and, this little, it's unhooked.
cheese.